Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, along with Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd. I'm Adam the Bull, and we got plenty to get to today, guys. We've got Mike, we've got Steve, we got Anthony on the other side of the glass, Earl up in his perch somewhere, and we bought water today.
You bought water?
We did. Jason bought a lot of water. I bought a little. Hopefully Tegna will pay us back. Do we think they'll pay us back?
You bought a couple of cases of water?
Yeah.
For like $6?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think we should be provided water.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. Although
I don't know that I'd lead the show with it.
Yeah, I don't know either. Although
I had to buy some bottle of water.
I was trying to stall time for you being late and not getting your equipment ready, and you busted my balls.
Well, I almost stole a case of water this morning from Walmart. Because, like, you got the gun.
Yeah.
And I just, like, hit it real quick, and I go to pay, and the woman came over. She goes, you only rang up 2 of those. I said, I got 3, and I showed the receipt. I'm like, oh, you're right, I only got 2. So
she was on top of you.
She was on top of it.
I've never seen someone be that on top of it.
I know.
Damn.
I almost stole $5 from Walmart today. But she was on it.
Well, that's
and then I felt bad. Then I felt
and what's funny is she, unfortunately, at Walmart, she gets paid about $5 an hour.
Yeah. So she just doubled the.
Yeah.
Something.
I guess that's why it was important. All right, let's get ourselves out of this awkward situation. You see what we're going to talk about today. Nick Chubb, Carson Wentz. Mikey McNuggets is thrilled about the idea of the Browns signing Carson Wentz, so he'll break that down for you. We have a Sean King breakdown. Who are we talking about today?
Jackson Dart.
Ooh. Jackson Dart, not a fan. But
the one on Tyler Shuck yesterday, between what McShay said, the breakdown, our discussion on Tyler Shuck.
Yeah.
I think we've changed some people's minds on the potential of Tyler Shuck being a guy that gets looked at, and McShay retweeted the clip we posted from the show, and Greg Cassell retweeted the clip we posted from the show. So we found our way into draft Twitter mainstream notoriety yesterday.
I didn't see the show.
Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't watch yesterday.
Well, we spent some time talking about Tyler Shuck and the fact that Shuck, and everybody seems very impressed with his talent. And the 2 knocks on him are, A, he's going to turn 26 in September.
So?
I think that's irrelevant.
I mean, they took Brandon Whedon, who turned 34 the year they drafted him. I'm joking, but not really.
But in the end, like, if he's going to be good for 10 years, who cares? You can't get him for 15.
Yep.
And obviously the other red flag is the injuries, because he had 3 years in a row where it's season-ending injuries. They were all broken bones. Which is that unusual, or is it a sign that he's got some sort of bone issue?
Could be really bad luck, too. I mean,
is it just bad luck, or is there a systemic issue?
I called the one game where he got hurt against West Virginia, and he was playing for Texas Tech, and it was leg snapped in half. It got freaking – your leg would have snapped in half.
Yeah.
My leg would have snapped in half. Your leg would have snapped in half.
Yeah.
And Todd McShay, Greg Cosell, and our guy Sean King all made the point of, wow, he wasn't really on my radar at first, and then we watched the tape on him, and all 3 were very impressed. McShay, I believe, had him as his second quarterback or third.
No, McShay had Sanders 2, and then he had Dart, who we'll talk about today.
Oh, that's
Shuck
right. Yes.
In his top 32. Sean King had Sanders and Shuck basically tied.
Right.
And then Cosell
had him second.
ahead of Sanders.
I've seen a lot of Sanders.
Can we start? Is it Shuck?
Shuck.
What did I say?
What did we say?
Shuck. You said Shuck.
Sorry, Shuck.
Yeah,
Shuck.
it's
Shuck.
going to make me
Like
pronounce
Chuck
it wrong.
with an S.
Shuck.
Like Shuck and ear of corn.
You're shucking oyster.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Shuck.
Shuck. We got it now. Shuck.
You think you played enough college football that we know
Played
that?
a
Yeah, he
lot
played
of college
7
football.
years, parts of 7 years in college. He's the Van Wilder of college, or the Adam the Bull of college quarterbacks, because I was in college for 7 years as well. Anyway, so that's where it went. And I asked Todd McShay specifically, is there any other knocks on this guy besides the age and the injury? And really there wasn't. You know, he talked about he's the biggest of the quarterbacks. He's got just as good an arm. I didn't realize he ran a 4.6.
He can move.
He's
very
6'5",
athletic. He's very
230?
athletic.
Yeah, he's big, 6'4",
big kid.
6'5".
I mean, to be that
Like-
big
like
and
an
be running
athletic
a
Big
4.6,
Ben, dude.
yeah. So there's a lot to like about him besides his age and injury. And to me personally, and obviously you said it already, the age to me is almost a non.
If anything, it should be a plus.
Yes.
Because he should be a little bit more grown up and mature.
That's right.
Rather than someone who is maybe 21 and still hasn't figured things out just up.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know guys tend to mature a little bit slower than women do.
Yeah,
so
I'd say so.
I actually look at that as a little bit of an advantage, actually.
Yeah.
McShay said the same thing, by the way. That
What?
because of his experience in college, he's been able to kind of fix and correct some of the mistakes and bad tendencies he's had
Now,
at
also-
Oregon by the time he's at
He's
Louisville.
been through a lot
Now,
of
also,
adversity, obviously.
by the time you're 26, you should be able to dominate college.
Right, and he
So
did.
so I think so I think you need to take that into account
He
too.
was good last year,
Yeah,
but
like,
he didn't dominate.
Like we were joking. Mike and I did a quick little segment at the end of our Cavs show about
Yeah.
what Cavs player could take after the national championship game.
Right.
Imagine DeAndre Hunter right now in college. You better dominate.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Of course.
So it could be a good. I see why it could be a good thing to be a little bit older, but at the same time, you probably should dominate.
Right. So obviously there's question marks there. But anyway, we'll get more to the quarterback stuff later. But we'll begin with the Cavaliers, who have a 3-game losing streak and panic all over Cleveland.
Break the glass.
Let's
It's an
go.
emergency.
Do it.
Break
Everybody's-
the glass.
Everybody's panicking.
I better not.
I have a
send
brick
bobbleheads
to
flying
break
everywhere.
Do
this
you have
glass.
something to read to do before?
I do, yeah. I got a
go
brick
ahead.
to break this glass, but it's not about the
Okay.
Cavs. We'll talk about that topic after we start with this 3-game losing streak. And after a reminder that March Madness officially starts at noon, guys, and there's no better place to get in on the action for all your March Madness gambling needs than with FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, brand new customers to FanDuel can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. You can even pick who's going to cut down the nets with tournament games happening almost every day for every hour of the next 4 days. There's always something to get excited to bet on. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Speaking of March Madness, we have the UCSS Bracket Challenge. We've posted the link in the chat if you want to join. No prize money, just bragging rights, but we have over 70 submissions already, so a big pool. Let's have some fun. Submit your bracket.
I went straight
hang out
homer
with
and
us.
picked St. John. Not that, I mean, St. John's is the 5th favorite to win the title, but I picked St. John's over Duke in the final. What'd you guys go with?
I went with Purdue over Grand Canyon.
No, you didn't.
I did.
He flipped a coin
Nice.
for every game.
I flipped a coin for every game. And I wound up with Purdue. I wrote a column on it. I don't even know if they're going to run it or not, but I wrote a column on it. But I have Purdue. I almost had Grand Canyon and Liberty in the national championship game.
Liberty.
And in All Jesus Showdown. but Purdue beat
That would have
Liberty.
been fun. I didn't realize Grand Canyon was a religious school.
Yeah.
I picked.
Who you got?
Here's what I have for my champion. I have Tennessee as my
I got them in the
champion
Final
I like it.
Four.
over
I like it.
St. John's in the final.
Oh, there you go. I have Tennessee and St. John's in the Final Four.
Who's your Final Four?
Mine is Tennessee, St. John's, Duke, and I mean, I didn't take anything lower than a 2.
Am I crazy? I have St. John's, Michigan, Wisconsin, Tennessee.
Oh, I had Michigan State.
Okay.
No, Wisconsin I had, I think, in the Elite Eight. Not that I'm an expert on college basketball. Who you got in the Final Four, Mike?
I ended up going with Auburn to win it all. I wanted to pick Florida.
Don't they have a big injury?
No. They just lost 3 of the last 4 games.
Are you
down
sure
the
about that? I thought they had a big injury.
No,
okay.
they're not the team that's injured. Duke has the injury. Houston's dealing with an injury.
Yeah, but he's going to be fine.
Texas Tech is dealing with a couple injuries. Auburn just lost 3 of the last 4 games.
Who you got? So who you got?
I have them beating Duke in the championship. I have Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Tennessee.
So you want all 1 seeds?
No, Tennessee's a 2. Yeah, it's pretty chalky. But I think the top 6, 7 teams in the country this year are the best top 6, 7 teams we've seen in a while. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, all right.
The games tip off.
St. John's plays it like
Well, don't you want to hear my Final Four?
Yeah, what's your Final Four, Jim?
Grand Canyon, Liberty, Creighton, and Purdue.
I think I have Purdue losing in the first round.
If Jason wins, we
That
should all
would
just
be-
quit.
Yeah, I mean, nobody. I'm sure nobody's got any of those teams in the Final
The
Four.
very first flip,
You do coin flips on everything?
coin flips on
Yeah.
everything. I took my kid's coin from Great Wolf Lodge
Nice.
and just made a heads and tails and flipped a coin. The very first flip, I lost Duke. On the very
Nice.
first flip.
Nice.
It's like, this is not going to go
No.
well.
Maybe you should
no.
pick the first round because that'll
Right,
weed,
and
that'll
then
weed
do
out the 16
the-
seeds.
right,
and the
right, right. And
14
then do the
seeds,
coin flip.
and
Nope.
Then do the coin flip.
Coin flip all the way.
Anyway, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, let's dive into
Yeah.
the Cavs' loss last night. Unfortunately, they were unable to hold off the Sacramento Kings. They've now lost their 3rd straight game. And after the game, Donovan Mitchell spoke with Chris Fedor of Cleveland.com, who was in Sacramento covering the game, and gave him this quote. And I want to present this quote, then we can react to what Donovan had to say and figure out if it's worth panicking over for the Cavs. Yes, I spelled Donovan's name wrong, Steve. I already know. My bad, Donovan. When you lose 3 games in a row, I guess you could miss 1 letter in the name, so it's all evens out. But Donovan told Chris Fedor, the sky's not falling, but we have some blank to figure out. This is part of it. We have to be better. That's no lie. I feel like this is something that is going to help us going forward. You don't grow without going through things.
I agree with Donovan. I can't believe I put on Ken and Lima this morning for a little bit on my drive. Not my drive. I don't know. I had a doctor's appointment this morning. That's when I put them on. So I was driving in. I put them on, and they brought in some caller. And this guy, 2 callers in a row, were losing their minds. The Cavs they should have made this trade. They should have made that trade. They got to break up the bed. They've been having a historic season. They have 1 bad week, and we're losing our minds. This is crazy. Donovan's right. I'm not worried at all. Maybe I'm lost. But I have no panic about the Cavs whatsoever, guys. I don't know what you think.
No, I think this is a good thing. I think he's right because you want, first of all, almost every team goes through this in March, and particularly here in Cleveland. Like, especially now, this is, you're late in the year, and now you got a West Coast trip thrown in at the end of the season because, the NCAAs are here in Cleveland this week, so you got to vacate for a week. And I mentioned Mike on the podcast that we did yesterday. In the championship era, every year around this time, the Cavs would unravel. They'd go on a bad skid, and fans would lose their minds and say, it's all over. It's not all over. Like, for this team in particular, I think this is a good thing because it shows them, it exposes some vulnerabilities maybe that they have that were not exposed earlier. And I don't care. Like, we can get in the numbers, and I think Mike's got the numbers of, like, Donovan and Darius' shooting slumps.
Yeah, they've been bad since the All-Star break.
To me, that's just a little bit of a regression to the mean. And you're like, once the ball leaves your hand, there's nothing you can do about it. With these guys, they're such great shooters, but they're not all going to go in. And how many times you heard it's a make or miss league. So when the ball leaves your hand, if it's a good shot and you're in rhythm and all that, there's nothing you can do about it. There's good shots, bad shots. But if it's a good shot and it doesn't go in, there's nothing you can do about that. The part where I would circle is okay, well, when you get pushed around inside, when you get beat physically, when you're not guarding well, when you're not guarding the three-point line, those are all the correctable things that you can look at film and say, we have to get better here, 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 and here. If you're not making shots, okay, you're going to have times you're not making shots. But you shouldn't be giving up 40 points to the Kings in a quarter. That's the stuff that you can correct, and that's why I agree with him. I think it's a good thing that Kenny Atkinson can turn on film now and say, hey, we're not this 75-win juggernaut that we appeared to be at times this year. 70 wins is off the table. I don't think that's a big deal at all. I don't think it was anything to chase. Yeah. I mean, unless they pull the nose up, they may not get to 66, which is the franchise record again. I don't know that matters.
You think any of the players care about that?
Yeah. I think 67 probably matters a little bit more than 70.
But to the point of, you're going to play differently because of it?
No, but, I mean, it maybe you stay engaged a little bit longer in games because we've talked about what a long season it is, and these games are a grind. So it may keep you motivated. It may keep you engaged and focused a little bit more. I think it would be cool to some of these guys to set a franchise record for wins. But, ultimately, I don't think anything that's happening right now will have any bearing on what happens in the playoffs.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that this is a good thing that it's happening now. It's not like the last week of the year. There's still time to get things together. You're not doing this with all your horses. I mean, guys have been banged up. Garland, what's the status with Garland?
It was just a rest game.
Just a rest
He's
game.
He's totally
okay.
fine.
Well, I mean, but again, so you didn't have all your horses. So I'm cool with it. I do think that they're going to be fine. I don't want this to happen. I want to win every game. I just think it's a little bit of a blessing in disguise. And they've given themselves such a cushion in terms of room for error.
Yeah.
They can afford this. Now, don't lose 5 more in a row. Let's try to get it together here. Phoenix tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
Is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, Phoenix.
Yeah. I mean, they got 5 and 8. Which
This road trip was 5 games in 8 days.
Right.
4 of the teams they're playing are fighting for playoff spots.
Right. The other teams have something to play for.
I
The
think
Cavs
that's
have
an
nothing to
important
play
factor
for.
here is the Cavs, to Dustin's point, they've locked up the 1 seed. We talked about it yesterday, Bull. The Clippers needed that game to stay in playoff contention. And last night the Kings needed that game to stay within the hunt for a play-in or playoff spot. And Phoenix needs Friday's game to continue where they're at in the standings. They're actually out in the Western Conference right now, or they're number 10 right now. They're tied with Dallas. The Blazers, a game and a half out on Tuesday. Another team that's just hungry at this point of the season when the Cavs, frankly, don't have that same juice to get up for every game.
And to be fair, during the 16-game winning streak, I'm sure they played a lot of teams that had more motivation to win, and they didn't. The Cavs won. They're in a slump right now. I mean, if you turn this slump into, well, this is who they are versus what you saw the previous 60-something games, I think that's unfair. This all comes back. The panic is because of the continued nervousness. People have been trying to pretend that they're not nervous about the playoffs because of how the playoffs ended the last 2 years. The Cavs have flamed out the postseason the last 2 years. And so every fan, no matter how well the Cavs play.
Did they flame out last year? Really? Did they flame out? They lost to the eventual champion without
You're right.
their best player.
You're right. That's fair. They flamed out against the Knicks.
They flamed out against the Knicks, 100%.
They didn't play particularly well against Orlando. In a series they probably should have won more handily. But you're right. Against Boston, they really had no realistic chance to win. But the point is, the fans, there remains an uncomfortable feeling about the playoffs. And no matter how well they play this year, you're always going to have that feeling of, can they do it in the playoffs? And any slump brings that to the forefront a little bit.
I think you're touching on something, and it's because, number one, they've never gotten there. And number two, they don't have the hammer. In the past, they had the hammer.
Yes.
So they always had the best player in the series.
Yes.
That's not the case anymore.
That's right.
And they've never, even for as great as Donovan is, he's never been to conference finals. So he's never been there.
Yeah.
So how can you have assurance that they can get there when they've never been there?
Right.
So I think that's where a lot of the – now, having said that, I absolutely think that they're going to get there this – I think they're a conference finals team this year. And then you line up and you see who's better. But because they don't have that guy that they've always had for 20 years when they've been in the playoffs, they had the hammer and they were going to win a championship. And because they're trying to do things that they haven't done before, I understand where you're coming from, where you're getting that, because I think there's some validity to that.
Right, and I think that leads to the panic because fans felt so giddy about this season, but they were able to bury that feeling of nervousness, and this brings it out.
But they were going to be nervous even if this team won 65 games.
Right, even if they won 70, it doesn't matter. You're still going to have that feeling, especially against Boston.
Yeah, the nervousness still comes in the first round.
Yes.
It still comes in the second.
Now, if they kick ass in the first round, that'll go away a little bit. If they dominate, winning 4 or 5 games, we'll feel a little differently. But you're still going to have Boston looming there.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to feel comfortable until, and this is still not comfortable, but until they get to the finals, we're not going to believe they have a chance. Really, truly believe.
That's right.
Because they still got to get through Boston.
Yeah.
Still got to get through. I mean, depending on how things, it looks like they're going to be. They got the 1 seed.
They're going to be
up,
the 1
so
seed. Yes.
They're going to avoid New York, right?
As of right now, the standings, New York is essentially locked into the 3 seed. They're 4 games up on Indiana. So most likely they'll play the winner of Indiana, Milwaukee, Detroit, who are all within 1 game of each other for the 4, 5, and 6.
Perfect. So perfect, because I think New York scares us a little bit more than those other teams do.
I think coming into this year, I felt that way. New York hasn't won
They're kind of a
good
mess.
team all year,
The Knicks
so
are
I
kind
don't
of a
know.
mess.
But
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just that coach and that team, they're tough, and in the playoffs, I think they'll be
it
different.
could be different. Yeah, I mean that's again, we keep talking about it being a different animal for the Cavs in the playoffs. So it could be for
I
the
mean,
Knicks too.
we saw Orlando the other night.
Yeah.
Play this team very well.
Yeah.
Atlanta's beaten this team multiple times. So it's not like it's an easy path. I would pick the Cavs to win every series.
Yeah.
But Atlanta's long and athletic and has had success against this team this year. Orlando knows how to play them. They're not intimidated at all by the Cavs.
Right.
In the second round, a team like Milwaukee's already won a championship. They've got
right.
championship DNA.
Yeah.
And then
the
the
Knicks
finals,
beat them 2 years ago if
Yeah.
it got to that.
Yeah.
You know,
And then it's
Indiana
Boston
was
and-
just in a conference final.
last year. Indiana's probably better than they get credit for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Boston in the so it's not like it's an easy path.
No.
I would pick the Cavs to win up until the conference finals, and then, I want to see who's healthy and how
Yeah.
both teams are playing
Right.
before then. But I think they've had easier paths in the past than what they would have this year,
Sure.
even as the 1 seed.
Yeah, and the first round or two of the playoffs, this is going to just become whatever happens at the end of the regular season. The Cavs could play 500 basketball the rest of the way, and if they look great in the first round, we're going to completely forget about it.
Of course.
Go ahead, Mike.
So over the last 3 games,
Yeah.
I've picked out, I don't want to call them trends, but I picked out 3 things that at least caught my eye. You guys tell me if it's just a random 3-game sample size, something that we should keep an eye on moving forward, anything of importance, or, okay, this may be something we need to watch. Mm-hmm. I'll give you one, we'll react. I'll give you the next, we'll react, the next, we'll react. But on the season, the Cavs have the second highest team three-point make rate in basketball. They're making about 16 threes per game. In each of their last 3 losses, they have been outscored from the three-point line by Orlando, by LA, and by Sacramento. That's where each of those teams ranks as of this morning in team three-point makes per game. The Cavs.
Yeah, that is weird. Not only did you get out three-pointed, but out three-pointed by 3 terrible three-point teams.
Yes.
Especially the Magic. I mean, they're the worst.
Literally the worst in
Yeah,
basketball.
they are.
It only goes to
30th,
30.
yeah.
So is that anything to be worried about? Just a coincidence, weird trend? I'll just present this to you.
I
without
think
comment on what you guys-
I'd say coincidence.
Slump.
Yeah, whatever. Weird trend. All the
Yeah,
above. man.
I don't think it's a bigger picture concern.
I think there's 2 sides of that. There's offensively not making shots, and there's
Yeah.
defensively not doing a good job of guarding the three-point line. So defensively, I think they can and need to do a better job of guarding the three-point line. Shots, you're going to miss shots. So you can't. I guess I'd be more curious in the number.
Yeah.
Not just that they got outshot, but what was the number on there? It's because the Clippers couldn't miss a shot when they played the other night.
Right. And it's weird.
the Kings, what was the Kings' third quarter last night? What did they score in the third quarter? It was obnoxious.
The Kings scored 108 points in the final 3 quarters. In the third quarter specifically, they had 43 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
I wonder if, could it be that their game plan defensively, because they were playing 3 bad shooting 3-point teams, was to kind of force them to shoot threes, and it just backfired?
That happens a lot. Buzz Williams back at
Yeah.
A&M got killed his first year because the defense he plays funnels teams to shoot corner threes. Whatever. I know that seems like an easy shot. His defensive metrics swear, we want you to take these shots. Take them. If you make them, you'll beat us. And the first year he was at A&M when I was there, they lost a ton of games. He got killed. And since then, they've been one of the best defensive teams in the country. And it was simply a variance of teams made shots that one year versus then regressing to the mean.
Yeah, but guys
So
don't hit threes in college like they
No,
do
but
in
I'm
the
just saying
pros.
there
But-
are defensive strategies that force and what's the word I'm looking for? Encourage teams
Yeah.
to take shots that they want you to take, and it absolutely can backfire. They're NBA
Yeah.
players; they can make shots.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was the strategy, but it certainly is.
Yeah, right.
Something. All right, next trend I noticed: the Cavs have the number 2 scoring bench in basketball. However, against the Magic, they only outscored the Magic bench, which was not good, by 6 points. They outscored the Clippers bench, which is one of the lowest scoring benches in basketball, by 1 point. And last night they outscored the Kings bench by just 8 points, despite having similar gaps in terms of where the Cavs bench
Right.
scoring ranks versus the others.
What haven't they not had somebody?
They've mixed up the lineups, which
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah.
But the Cavs bench had been kind of one of their superpowers in extending leads when they go through their first rotations. Over the last 3 games, it has not been nearly as efficient as it has been. Anything to look more into, or just once again random 3-game trend?
I think that's a nothing burger.
Nothing burger.
Yeah, you didn't have Evan against Orlando. You didn't have Darius last night. So,
and the first one of the three was Orlando, right? Yeah. You didn't? Did you have? Was it Evan and Donovan were both out against Orlando, or just Evan?
Just Evan.
no, Donovan played.
Okay.
Donovan played.
Right.
That doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys for the record. And last one, we talked about just some of the shooting discrepancies for the Cavs. This is Donovan pre-All-Star break and post-All break. We'll show you Darius in 1 second, but the points a little up, the field goal percentage down, the three-point percentage down almost 10 points despite playing slightly more minutes. So he's taking more shots, slightly less efficient. Let's go to Darius here, Steve, the very next graphic. Points down, field goal percentage down 11 points, three-point percentage down 12 points. His true shooting down almost 13 points.
What does true shooting mean exactly?
A combination of all your shooting stuff put into one. It's a pretty good one.
Nice
stat.
little algorithm that may not be easy to explain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His numbers, his numbers are way more dramatic than Donovan's.
Yes.
How many games is that post All-Star break?
They've played 15 or 14. Darius missed 2
Yeah.
or 3, so it's 11.
Yeah,
or
man,
10, 11
guys,
games.
I just think that's not big enough sample size to be able to like throw off the red flag or the alarm, whatever you want to call it. Like, I'm just not there.
Right.
It's similar to baseball. Like, dude, teams get in
Yeah.
these things. There's a lot of games. It's a long year. Guys are banged up. Let's just chill out on the panic mode right now. Our teams, what are we at? 56.
56
and 13 and 13, like
Yeah.
56 and 13.
Yeah.
56 and
With 13
13.
to go.
Think about that. Like, guys, we've been spoiled this year. We're having a conversation about should we panic? They've lost three games in a row. Like, every team in basketball has probably had a 3-game losing streak this year, right?
Is that their first 3-game losing streak? Or, I know
Has
it
to
No,
was-
be.
they're second. They lost
Second.
3 in January.
Right.
So
I mean, these things
I'm looking to see if
happen.
OKC lost 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in a similar boat as the Cavs.
I'm looking at Donovan's overall numbers.
OKC hasn't, no.
Donovan is basically playing like he was his last year in Utah. Shooting almost identical. 3-point percentage is up. Like,
Darius's 3-point percentage was due to regress. No.
I mean, he was shooting 43 pre-All-Star break, which
pretty
is
high.
probably a little higher, but that's not crazy for Darius. He's certainly better than a 31% three-point shooter.
Right. I think he'll settle in and be.
He's like a 37% guy, right? Something like that.
It's also later in the season. He's not a big guy. I wonder if he's worn down a little bit, and that's why they gave him the day off yesterday. He hasn't played as well lately. That's clear.
He's right at his career best shooting from 3 is 41%.
He's right at it.
And he's right at it.
So he's shooting the best of his career.
I think big picture, nothing from last night should change how you feel about the Cavs whatsoever.
Okay.
I do think if they're going to win a championship, Donovan and Darius have to find and regain their rhythm. But
100%.
Yes.
right now, at this point on March 20th at 11:26 a.m., anyone who's freaking out, including callers into the Ken and Lima show, including a lot of people in our Twitter mentions, I think need to take a chill pill.
By the way, speaking of Ken, I mentioned this on Twitter. He posted a picture of his bracket, right? Mm-hmm. And every time I've known Ken, obviously we've known him for 14 years or whatever. Almost 14 years. Every time I see his handwriting,
he's got the most beautiful handwriting. Unbelievable.
It's beautiful in a way, but it's also
can't
hard to read.
I couldn't read it. Now he can.
Ken, if you've never seen it, go look at his Twitter.
It was beautiful.
He writes like he just got done with the Revolutionary War, and he got a quill pen. That's what he writes like. It's crazy.
Dude, like the guys that signed like the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, right.
His handwriting's better than handwriting is better than John Hancock.
Yes, right. It's just so bizarre. That
I don't know about you guys. Mine looks like I'm drunk and writing with the wrong hand.
Are you a lefty?
No, I'm a
Well,
righty.
I'm a lefty. No lefties write nicely. Like my handwriting is so sloppy.
Yeah.
I'm glad I rarely have to do it now.
My signature is down to a scribble.
I do like a big A and a big G for my last name, and then it's all aligned.
I don't even put a last name.
I'm trying to think. My kids barely ever write.
No.
They don't teach them cursive anymore.
No.
Which they shouldn't.
Well, but you gotta know how to sign your name.
That's it, though.
But the kids don't even know how to sign their name.
I mean,
I taught
let's
my
be
son
honest,
on
though.
his
Let's
own.
be honest. I mean, it's really cool to have a cool looking signature. But if you wrote your name,
Right.
Adam,
Yeah.
Kirsten Haber,
Yeah.
like who's gonna be like, oh, he wrote it
Yeah,
in
nobody,
normal font.
Nobody cares. You don't really have to sign your name.
I would like my kids to know how to sign their name.
Yeah. Well,
Dude,
do they? Then teach them.
Bro,
We are.
Don't you
We're teaching them.
remember back in the day we had those calligraphy pens and we would have to learn to write in
I was the
super-
last class that did that in my elementary school,
Yeah,
Dustin. My
cursive.
sister and brother after me did not have to do that.
Don't get us started. Now some idiot politician's going to get on a campaign to start cursive again. All right, Mike, go ahead.
Let's talk a little Browns, guys, but a quick reminder,
going
today's
away.
episode is brought to you by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, in practicing every detail to get the best results, but no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the all-stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor's ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain now easier. Managing logistics also easier. Responding to price changes, that's also easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global vision, we'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way, because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most out of every hardworking minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier finds the lane. Discover your success at www.easierwithepicor.com. That is www.easierwithepicor.com. All right, guys, Mary Kay put out a report yesterday, and
Yeah.
I'm just going to read you the headline as it is. Steve, please
You
take.
can also listen to it because she was a guest on my podcast.
She was a guest on your podcast. Steve, take tag board full here. According to Mary Kay's Twitter, breaking: Browns and Carson Wentz definitely have mutual interest in him as their bridge QB if they don't sign Russell Wilson. Source tells Cleveland.com. Go.
Yeah, I've fully come over to the Jason Lloyd side of things on this.
Come on in.
I
The
kind of
water's
said
warm.
it in the beginning, and then I started being like, maybe we'll get Russell Wilson. Maybe he's better. And at this point, I'm like, I just don't care.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No.
It's irrelevant what veteran you add to the mix, because they're going to draft a quarterback. They're probably going to draft a quarterback at 2. Even if they don't, I think they'll draft a quarterback at 33. And there's no veteran quarterback that is going to make them a legitimate contender. None. So whether you sign Carson Wentz or Russell Wilson or Joe Flacco or Jameis Winston, not that they're signing Jameis again, or even Aaron Rodgers, not that he's on their radar, but it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. In fact, it might be, I hate to say this because Tyvis made this point, and he's right about culture and learning to win and not, the Browns are probably better off losing in the long run this year.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not like, I mean, the overall culture of this place obviously has been horrific for 25 years. Mm-hmm. But they were a playoff team just a couple of years ago, so it's not like they've been tanking for 5 years. We act like they've been tanking for 5 years.
Yeah.
And they haven't. They had a bad year last year. The Deshaun thing was a miss, and it wrecked the contention window. That's just the reality
That
of where
is it.
they are.
Yeah.
So now you have to, sweep up the pieces and start over again.
It's all Anthony Schwartz's fault, dude.
Well, there is something to be said for that, because he stopped on the route.
He did. And Baker's shoulder gets broken.
Yeah.
And then he plays through it, obviously. And there was a big disconnect with the injury and the performance on the field. And because of that, he wanted out of Cleveland because of the way he was treated. Not to go, relitigate the situation.
No.
But, dude, the Baker, because they were in the playoffs. They won playoff games.
I would still argue in the long term they were never going to win with him, but that's
agree with
another
you.
argument for another
But
day.
I did have someone
Yeah.
fairly high up at the Browns say this all goes back to Baker getting hurt.
Yeah.
And this was a long time ago I had that discussion.
Right.
Imagine if Baker didn't
And
get
he
hurt.
contributed to his way out of here.
He absolutely did.
100%.
Yes,
I'm not giving him a pass at
Yeah.
all. And I'm not necessarily saying that it for sure would have worked out, but they were trending in the right direction. They had a quarterback that was a really good player. And then they decided that, we can just replace that guy.
Right.
And they tried the cheat code, and the cheat code didn't work.
It didn't work.
No.
And so you
Okay.
just have to be honest with where you're at. It's not a 10-year rebuild that we're talking about here. It's 1 year.
But
It's a 1-year reset. Coming off last year's really bad year, you go into this year knowing you're not going to be pretty great, and you deal with it. You get through the season, you capitalize on high picks, and then you can start to put the thing together and go. It's not this long-term, terrible plan.
So, Jason, if that's your plan, 1 year kind of rebuild, are you in on Carson Wentz then being part of the Browns quarterback room?
I said it the other day. Do you want the car with no transmission, or do you want the car with no tires, or do you want the car with no brakes? Because that's where we're at, and it doesn't really matter. Like I don't care who they sign. I'm fine. Given all the names that I've heard so far, just put Kenny Pickett out there. He's 20. He's 26 on a rookie
honestly,
contract.
Like, cool. I'm cool with that. Carson Wentz, cool with that. Flacco, cool with that. Like, all those dudes are professional quarterbacks, unlike everything we've had last year.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything professional about last year. A couple of moments from Jameis Winston, sure. But overall, like, you're just not getting the professionalism from the quarterback position. Not just, I mean, I'm not saying like off the field or how he behaves. It's like you got to have a professional offense that can run play action, that can run whatever Stefanski wants to deploy at a pretty high clip, or at least above average or around average. Everything that they had last year was below average for the most part.
Well, at least now they have a play caller who can run the ball.
Yeah.
At the very least.
They don't have a running back, but they
don't have a
They'll
running
have
back.
a running back
Yeah,
in
but they
2
will.
seconds, man. You know that.
Yeah, so the Browns are in a catch-22 because we know it's better for the franchise for them to lose. Honestly, even if they draft Shedeur Sanders, they're better off losing and getting a higher draft pick next year to increase the talent around him. However, you have a coach and GM that if they lose too much, could both get fired.
Yeah.
It's a whole difficult balance because it's you do want to win because those players need
Right,
to.
nobody wants to lose.
Like, you need to win.
Yeah.
Losing just continually creates bad culture, bad behavior, bad tendencies, like all those things that are negative
true.
with an organization.
Yes.
It comes from losing. And even if you're like, oh, we're going to be at the bottom of the draft again, like what's the point in winning? We can say that as fans, but like internally,
Right.
they do need to win games at least periodically.
Yeah.
So to give themselves a chance, like, so this whole like 3-13, 3-14 or whatever, like they can't do that again, man. They can't.
No, everybody's going to get fired if that happens, even though it might be better for the long-term franchise. But yes, you have to balance, okay, we get a higher pick. The problem is, good teams, it doesn't matter if they're drafting 10, 15, 25, they'll find good players, or more often find good players, and the Browns haven't done that.
Yeah.
And part of the biggest reason they're in this predicament is that Deshaun Watson was a disaster. But another reason that things are as bad as they are is that they've done a bad job drafting, and they have very little young talent.
Yeah. You know, it's two conversations. If you take a quarterback at 2 this year, my whole thing has always been, you're going to be bad this year, accept it, embrace it, go get the quarterback in 26. No, we don't know what the names are going to be, but it certainly looks like it's shaping up at this point to be a better quarterback draft next year than this year. Is there a risk involved in that? 100%. All of this is risk. It's just how much risk are you comfortable taking? If you take a quarterback at 2, though, yeah, like you're trying to win next year, because there's not as much incentive, I guess, to not be good, because if you think you've got your long-term guy. I just think you have to be honest and realistic about the position that you're in. And this team is not close to being a top-end Super Bowl contender. You can scrape into the playoffs. You can limp your way in as a 7th seed. You can be in the battle and contention, into November and December. You could probably piece this thing together back enough to be in that conversation. I just don't know how that's advancing this forward, because they're not ready to contend on the highest level. And that's why I just think you're wasting your time and you're fooling yourself if you think differently. So it's two different conversations.
Yeah,
quarterback. There's the quarterback but if you take the quarterback now, if you take the quarterback at 2 now, it lessens the need to embrace a whole tank next year, because it's the most important spot. And if you take a quarterback at 2, you have to feel like, okay, we feel like we've addressed that, whether you have or not.
Well, if they feel like Shedeur Sanders is that answer, it's not as punitive drafting quarterback either. So if you drafted Shedeur Sanders and after a year you decided, well, we screwed up, you could, you could always draft somebody again next year.
Are we assuming that is Cam Ward done? Is he out?
I mean, I'm just assuming he's getting drafted once. But we certainly don't know that for sure.
Right.
Justin,
Draft is 5 weeks from today, right?
It is 5 weeks from today. The FanDuel Sportsbook odds for Cam Ward to be the number 1 pick, not by which team, but just the number 1 pick, it's up to -450.
Yeah, but I think odds on the draft are. It's
I'm just
not
saying,
based on
it looks
facts.
like he's the prohibitive favorite now, regardless of team, to be the number 1 pick.
Right, but it's not. It's based on rumor and innuendo, not the book having any inside information.
You sure? Vegas seems to know everything.
They get it wrong with draft
and they
picks.
also don't let you bet. You can't bet $1 million on that.
No.
I mean,
You
they
can't- in a lot of states,
cap
in
it.
Ohio, you can't even bet on the draft.
They cap those. You can't bet on that?
No, not legally.
Oh.
you can't bet on the draft. But in some states you can. I know in like Louisiana you can. But
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean it's. And by the way, like if you decide to wait for next year in the end, if they don't think Shedeur Sanders or any of these other guys besides Cam Ward are any good, you don't draft them. Fine, I get it. But the thing about waiting for next year is, even if they win 6 games next year, that might not be bad enough for them to get a quarterback in the draft. You know, this year may be an anomaly where maybe there's only one good quarterback or none.
Yeah.
Last year was also an anomaly that there were that many good quarterbacks.
But I mean, at the very least, next year, if you let's say 6, if you win 6, you can go up, you can move up. But it's gonna. I mean, you're back in the Deshaun situation where it's going to cost you future draft capital.
But
you're attaching future ones.
You can go up in theory, but what if there's 3 teams ahead of you that also need a quarterback? They're not trading down.
No, but how many times normally?
Yes.
In any year, teams that are aggressive and want a quarterback find a way to move up and get that quarterback. Almost always, especially from 6. We're not talking 15.
Right,
We're talking
but
6.
If there's a quarterback that everybody looks at as like this guy's a generational
of course,
guy,
you may not get to that guy.
Yes,
but if there's 3 available, generally, if you're in the top 10, you're going to be able to get. But it's going to cost you.
Yes,
it's going to cost you future draft which again goes back to the Miles situation I was talking about. Trade him for future picks, so now you have the capital to move up if you need to.
Which
but
they now don't.
Now it's going to be another. We're attaching future ones in order to move up.
Right. Now, if they draft Shedeur, maybe that never happens. Maybe he ends up being a good player, and
that solves a lot.
We'll see. But in terms of Carson Wentz specifically, I don't really. The only reason I don't like my beef with Carson Wentz is if he just feels like such a broken guy, kind of like Deshaun. Like confidence gone. Maybe it's come back after a year sitting on the bench in Kansas City. But the last few times we've seen him, he's just looked so shot.
He didn't play poorly in Indianapolis. Like, he wasn't terrible that year as a starter.
But he really choked down the stretch of the season.
But I'm just telling you, they couldn't wait to get rid of him. Like, they couldn't wait to get him out of the building.
Yes.
So it doesn't all add up. And I don't pretend to know everything that happened in Indy. But if you look at the numbers and you go back and watch them.
Holy crap. He threw 27 touchdowns, 7 picks that year.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, but go look at his game log the last couple of games.
No, I remember he was terrible down the stretch. Yeah, no, I'm just saying
he didn't have a bad year. Overall, he did not have a bad year with Indy. And did they make the playoffs? Or they were in contention?
No, they choked at the end.
He couldn't beat Jacksonville in that last game of the season.
Yeah,
that's right.
But they couldn't wait to get rid of him.
Yeah.
And
same could be said about Russell Wilson the last 2 years.
Yeah, same could be said about Russ. So I don't know. Like, it doesn't all add up with – because, I mean, the last time we saw him in a starter's role, he wasn't awful. But the team was done with him. So.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, I have no interest in Carson Wentz. I'm just going to throw it out
there. We know that.
No interest.
None. Zero.
I teased that you were excited about him, but that
I
was
thought
a lie.
you did say that. Yeah,
I did. But that was a lie.
He was. I have no interest in Carson.
I
Wentz
loved,
whatsoever.
as Dustin knows, Carson Wentz
we
coming out of
both
college.
did.
That's true. We both loved him.
I remember we were sitting at the Clevelander.
Yeah.
And Bull and I were doing a show. I think was it Cavs playoffs? Because it was Cavs playoffs because the Browns traded the pick with Philly.
Yeah.
And you and I we liked the move at the time.
Yeah.
And then it obviously he went to Philly and played really well.
Yep. Right.
The first couple of years.
Second team All-Pro his second year in the league.
Yeah, I mean he essentially led them to a Super Bowl, not in the playoffs, but the regular season run.
He was having an MVP season.
And then
before
Foles just kind of okay, thanks a lot, man.
And then
here's the keys.
It was like Foles just picked up his MVP playing during that postseason.
And he played out of his mind against the Patriots for one freaking game.
Yep.
And that Philly special was the deal.
That whole postseason he played great.
Oh, he did.
But that game in particular, he was just that was just insane.
Big Dick Nick.
Yeah. All right, Mike.
All right, let's move on, guys. Yeah. 1 day and 1 week from now, so 1 week from tomorrow, we are officially hitting the stage again for our second ever UCSS comedy show. If you haven't got your tickets yet, there's only a few left.
Mike, you still haven't told me if I got to get tickets.
Yeah, the guys, we've gone back and forth, played phone tag 20 times on that. So I don't know the answer.
Is my family going to even be able to go?
You will at least not to buy a ticket for yourself. You're going to have to buy tickets for your family, though.
Okay.
It's for charity. We're raising money for charity.
Can my son come?
That I haven't got a chance to get back and forth. Listen, I'm playing phone tag with the guy. He's in the office from 11 to 1, coincidentally.
This
and guess
seems
what? Every
like
time he
an
calls.
off-air conversation, but that's just.
But if you haven't got your tickets, I swear to God, it's him right now. I swear to God, it's him right now. I told every day during the show he calls and I tell him, hey, I work 11 to 1.
Yeah,
Take the call right now. Take the call.
Take his call. Take his call.
No. But if you haven't got your tickets, that's crazy. I swear
I
to
would
God,
love
he's
to
calling
know
right
what goes
now.
on in
But
Bull's mind
come to the
sometimes.
show next Friday. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
We hope to see everyone out there. If you haven't got your tickets, Ant's going to put the link
Could be
in the
fun.
chat to get it. We'll hope to see you there.
So
Have a
you
great
said it's
time.
almost sold out. Is that what you said?
Polk told me that he talked to someone at Hilarities
Yeah.
and said they have sold a crazy number of tickets for the show.
All right.
I'm
So-
back to questionable at best. It's my daughter's cheer banquet that
Oh,
night.
boy.
Should we talk about parking for the situation on the air too? Or
Let's get into the parking. Let's dive into that, man. People like behind-the-scenes stuff. Don't get me,
sure,
yeah, absolutely.
some stuff.
I may be late.
I'm ready for my set. I'm ready. I think I'm going 10 minutes, maybe.
There we go. Hey, no, it's
You
going to be a
write something
blast.
down?
Come out.
I
Come out
have
with us.
topics, and then I know.
Have you done
how
this
to-
before?
I did it last time. We
did a
the
little
show,
bit, yeah.
How'd it
But
go?
this is
How'd it
going
go?
longer.
Yeah.
He just got up and swore at everyone.
Yeah.
Just
A lot
yelled and
of
swore.
F-bombs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We were cursing, but I got a whole routine set this time. Go ahead.
So we did the Tyler Shuck.
Shuck.
Shot.
Shuck.
You know what?
Did you
I
get
went
it?
back and forth breakdown yesterday.
Yeah.
Today is Jackson Dart. Do we want to give our 2 cents on Jackson Dart?
No,
then
let's
hear
watch
Sean
the video
King?
and then we'll give
Or
it.
let's hear
Yeah.
Sean King first and then get to Jackson
Yeah.
Dart. So this is Sean King on Jackson Dart. We'll give our thoughts on Jackson Dart after we hear from Sean King. Keeping it rolling in our quarterback prospect breakdown series with Sean King. Next up, Jackson Dart, the Ole Miss product who played 3 seasons for Lane Kiffin in the Grove. And Sean, very differentiating opinions here on Jackson Dart. Some guys love him, some guys not as much, but the tape speaks for itself on some of these plays.
He does, and he's a very experienced quarterback. Has played a lot of football. 3-year starter for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. Got progressively better each year as his touchdown passes increased in all 3 of the subsequent years. As we roll the tape, he does some really good things. He's very evasive in the pocket. He has excellent functional mobility. He has arm talent. You've seen him throwing down the field to Trey Harris and that group of wide receivers there at Ole Miss. He reminds me, Mikey, of Baker Mayfield. If we continue to go through the different clips and we could just run it and kind of let me just, talk about what he brings to the table, that's who he reminds me of. He's kind of got like that moxie. Baker doesn't have the biggest arm, but he got a good arm. He's not the greatest athlete, but he's a good athlete. He doesn't have prototype size, but he has good size. A lot of that is Jackson Dart. And I think he's going to have an advantage because he's not going to come into the NFL with those expectations. But these kind of plays, they flash on the screen time after time. Him getting rushed by elite pass rushers, getting out the pocket, head downfield, making a big throw. This was 3rd and 14 in a 2-point game in the third quarter, and you see it pop up over and over again. In my opinion, because I don't think this is a very clear evaluation after Cam Ward when it comes to this draft class, Jackson Dart already is number 2 on some teams' board. I truly believe there's going to be a large variance on who the number 2 quarterback is. And, somebody's going to believe in Jackson Dart. Somebody's going to believe in Shedeur Sanders. I think somebody's going to believe in Tyler Shuck. But his comp from the NFL level is Baker Mayfield, in my opinion.
Sean, when you look at some of these plays, and we just kind of ran through the 3 as you were talking, in my unexpertise opinion, I did not play quarterback at any level besides the backyard. He kind of has that weird it factor where it doesn't always seem normal, but he finds a way to get it done. Ole Miss never had a ton of success. They were good while he was there, but never maybe as good as we thought. And I just wonder how that part of it translates for a guy that may not have the exceptional traits, but can still find different ways to get the results you want.
And I think that's why he's been a winner. Ole Miss never could, put a team good enough to compete with Georgia, who was at their height, and Bama, who was rolling. But, they're a 9-10 win team every year with him as a starting quarterback. So I just think you said it right. He's got the it factor. And, I think he has better arm talent than, let's say, a couple different guys that are in this draft class. He's just as athletic as everybody, in my opinion, but Cam Ward. And I'm just telling you, Mike, he's number 2 already on some teams' board. Now, does that translate to top half of the first-round draft pick? We won't know until draft day. I think we'll have more clarity after free agency. But if you get Jackson Dart, you're getting an experienced player that I think's ready to come in and help your organization sooner than later.
Dustin, you've mentioned Jackson Dart before as a guy you kind of had your eye on. What did you like from what Sean broke down? What you didn't like? And do you kind of agree with his overall take on the Ole Miss quarterback?
I mean, I agree with a lot that he had to say. I mean, I see it myself. I saw it myself this year when I watched Ole Miss play. You know, I especially like the job that he did in the bowl game against a really talented Northwestern defense, and that's the strength of their team. They don't have much offense. But when he was healthy this year, I really did like his game. I thought he would be a higher-rated prospect because of his talent, his ability. But I do think the injuries were a little bit of a concern. I think that the offense that he plays in, people don't really take Lane Kiffin's offense all that serious when it comes to like getting quarterbacks ready for the next level. So I think that's a little bit of a concern among NFL people in NFL circles. However, I do think there are traits there that lead you to believe this kid has a chance to do things, special things in this league. So I'm all about, if the Browns have interest in this guy, can they get him? It obviously wouldn't be at number 2, I don't believe, but certainly could be an option.
You never know. Daniel Jones, not that you want to use that as a good
example. 8? He went like 8.
Went top 10, right?
Top 10, something like that.
Even though nobody thought he would be.
6, excuse me.
Go ahead,
Before
Jason.
Josh Hines Allen.
He said Baker, and I gasped a little when he said the comp is Baker. I was like, in this town, how's that going to play around here?
Yeah.
I'm curious, Dustin, when you look at Jackson playing against the SEC versus Shedeur playing against the Big 12, how much do you have to factor that into any sort of evaluation?
Listen, Big 12's not what Big 12 was when it was, Baylor going up and down the field and like Oklahoma. It's not like Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes Big 12. The defense has been improved in that conference. The conference is obviously improved because they added new pieces this year as well. So I would say SEC versus Big 12. Not much difference, I would say, unless you're just an old head that thinks the SEC football is everything, and that you play in the SEC like it's just like the NFL. Don't get me wrong, it's great. I did 3 SEC games this year, calling SEC games. The talent's undeniable, but there's also a lot of talent in the Big 12 as well, and I think that Shedeur had to go through a lot with that offensive line that they had. He didn't have a ton of protection. He was beaten up at times. Facing pressure in college isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes that prepares you for the league because, hey, you play in an offense where you've got all day to throw. You can sit back there, and teams don't play man coverage. The zone is, allows for a lot of wide open windows where teams can just kind of pick you apart. Well, it gets a little different, a little tighter once you get to the league. So I would say that 2 things. Shedeur I think he's got a chance to be a really good pro. I do. I wouldn't look at the competition as much of anything. It's not like one guy played in the American Conference or the MAC or the Sun Belt or something like that. And nothing against the MAC or the Sun Belt. Love y'all. You cash checks for
a lot of those games.
And I think it's good football. But it's not the consistent competition that you're going to see week in, week out in P4 football.
It just feels like there is more chance for volatility in this draft than in most years.
Oh God, yeah.
Right?
Oh God, I think I've said this from day one, guys. Don't be surprised if one of these quarterbacks is a top 10 pick that we're not talking about.
That's exactly where I'm going.
Or one of these guys that we're talking about that is
now we're talking about 4 or 5 guys. Yeah,
sure. But we were talking about these guys as 3rd round picks.
Right,
now all of a sudden they could be like a mid-1st round pick.
I mean, you got McShay saying, what did Todd say about Shedeur? Is he a top 3 pick?
He had 4 quarterbacks in his top 32. He had Cam Ward as number 5 overall prospect. He had Shedeur in the 13 to 17. He did it by tiers, and then he had Shuck, and Dart.
Well, you can
in
certainly
the bottom of 32.
You can certainly find draft evaluators who feel like they're going to go Shedeur's the 2nd best quarterback in this draft, and he's going to be off the board by 3 or 6 or whatever.
Todd put out his mock draft this morning, had Shedeur going to the Browns.
And then Albert Breer says, I can't find a scout who thinks Shedeur is a 1st-round pick. And I know I talked to Zach Jackson, who talked to a scout who basically said that. Like, I'd love to see the Browns take Shedeur because we don't think he's any good. So it's just wild, the variance here. And I just feel like we could get to the draft and we think we know the order and we could be way off in how this goes. It just feels like beauty is in the eye of the beholder
Right.
of this draft, and there could be some weird things happen on draft
Yeah,
night.
but you could
Dustin,
probably.
can I ask Dustin a question?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
for sure.
Mike.
Dustin, when it comes to Jackson Dart specifically, at Ole Miss he played in the Lane Kiffin, shotgun, wide open style of offense. For what you've seen of Jackson Dart, and I know you did call one of his games, right?
I didn't call any of his games, no.
Okay. But from what you've seen and watched of Jackson Dart, do you think what he has and what he learned under Kiffin would translate into a very different offensive style that Kevin Stefanski likes to run?
I think that's unfair for me to answer right now because I don't know the specifics of his offense, and I don't know the player, and I don't know his mental capacity. I think that's important, when it comes to these guys. That's what these teams they love these interviews. They love the top 30 visits where they can bring the guy in and sit him on the board, and they can have him go through. Like Stefanski, if they bring Dart in, they can go through all these things where they can really find out, does he fit? Some of the concepts. Does he understand what our concepts are versus the concepts that he ran in college? Yeah. And I would love to give you some great answer about it. It's unfair to the player.
By the way, the Browns, and Mary Kay made this point on the podcast yesterday, and she's 100% right. The Browns need to draft the best quarterback they can, not the best fit for Kevin Stefanski's offense. That makes no sense. We have given Kevin Stefanski a pass on this to some degree. The coach needs to adjust to the quarterback, not the other way around.
Yeah,
you don't take a worse player because he fits Kevin Stefanski, who could get fired at the end of the year.
If you're a coach and you can only coach one type of player, you're a bad coach.
Right, 100%.
You're a bad coach.
That's 100% true. Deshaun Watson is not failing here because of the system, or because or Stefanski couldn't adjust or whatever. He's failed because he's broken as a quarterback.
His body and mind have failed him.
Yes,
and he will never be the same player, unfortunately. And it has nothing to do with anything other than him.
Right.
Period.
Right. So it can't be. Yes, if you see a quarterback who maybe fits what Kevin wants to do, and that's a tiebreaker or something, or just a coincidence. Well, if you think Shador fits better than Jackson Dart, but you as an organization think Jackson Dart's the better player, then you draft Jackson Dart. It's that simple. I don't think it's complicated at all.
I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, you do have an offense that you're going to run, and you need a quarterback who, know what I mean?
The coach has got to be able to adjust.
Absolutely, yes.
If and it might not be the case this year because maybe there's no big differential between these guys.
I mean, it certainly looks like they're going back to the offense that they ran prior to last year.
I got you, but if they drafted a quarterback that would be
if you
better
draft
off,
Jalen Milroe, who runs a 4.4,
Yeah.
and you decide you're going to just do play action pass all day and never use his athletic
Right,
ability,
that's
you're
a fail.
a dumb coach.
yeah,
That's a
right.
fail.
And it's a bad
by the
draft
way,
pick.
And the Ravens are a great example. Look at how they revamped everything around Lamar.
They
when
went
got
from
Lamar.
Flacco to Lamar.
couldn't be more different.
There's some coaching changes in there with their offensive staff, but same head coach.
Yep, and then ultimately Lamar also evolved. Lamar today is not even close to the quarterback.
Oh, way
he
better.
was
Yeah,
as a
he's
rookie.
gotten better every year.
Yeah.
Did you mention Milroe's time? His 40 time?
He ran a 4.37 is what Alabama.
I said 4.4, so 4.37. That's Dustin Fox time right there, baby.
You ran a 4.37.
That's my fastest 40 yard.
What did Lamar run? Do we remember?
I have no idea.
Has to be
Lamar?
better. Was it better than that?
I mean, it's a quick
At the
search
combine,
away.
Lamar ran a 4.34.
Okay, so
So he's Jalen Milroe.
I mean,
And by the way, everyone, can I say, shit on his ability to throw the football coming out of college.
They did.
Everybody did.
yeah, that's true. A lot of things they said, obviously Lamar was a better
Lamar
player in
Jackson is a
college.
two-time MVP
Yeah.
who was the 32nd pick of the draft, right?
Yeah, right.
And this guy was shit on before the draft.
Bill Polian said he
yeah.
was a wide receiver.
I just sort of
a wide
I think-
receiver.
And
he's
you know who gets the credit for that? Lamar Jackson, because he worked his ass off to become the
Oh, he
quarterback
does.
that
I'm
he
not
is
taking
today.
anything away from him at all.
And I hear what you're saying with Milroe, but
Yeah.
I don't know, how do you know if Milroe has that in here to do what Lamar did?
no
how do you
idea,
know?
man. No, it's a great question.
And that's
by the
why
way,
guys get fired.
I have heard that Jalen Milroe is like similar to like a Lamar. Like he's like Travis Hunter, like great kid.
Yeah.
book smart kid, does all the right things. Like doesn't party. Like he's a really good leader. Like on that team. So those are traits that you can't coach.
Those are traits
Milroe,
you have to have in a quarterback.
Is
have to have,
Milroe
right.
the one who won the award for the best academic athlete?
Yes.
So that's pretty impressive. He
Yeah.
won the Heisman of academic athletes.
Yeah. I mean,
Whatever it's called, the Campbell Award or
Craig won that. Krenzel won that.
Oh, that doesn't help
Back
our
in the-
argument here.
But Craig Krenzel wasn't
Yeah,
the athlete Jalen
Molecular
Noel.
genetics major
Yeah.
in college.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a doctor. That was
Did he become a doctor?
No,
Eventually?
dude, he won a national championship at Ohio State as the quarterback. Like he
No,
doesn't
but
need.
he could have still become a doctor.
He could have. He didn't. And
What's he doing?
He's
Businessman?
Media?
He's in insurance.
Yeah.
I think he does some media. And he won a
Yeah,
national championship. And he
That's
lives
it.
in Columbus.
Lives
Like
off
you're
that.
good,
You're
man.
good.
Yeah,
You're
Ask
good.
Cardell what it's like.
Yeah,
it's a good life.
That's right.
It's a good life,
That's
man.
true. All right, Mike.
All right, guys, we are going to move on, get back to the Cavs real quick, and then we will get into our Nick Chubb discussion. But a quick reminder that in 2 minutes, the NCAA tournament officially tips off
What's the
in
first
just
game?
2 minutes. I have no idea what the first game
I'll
is.
look it up.
Games in Cleveland are tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes.
Should I get my kid out of school and take him?
Yes.
It's a
fun.
really cool experience. I would
I've
recommend
been
it,
personally last time in Cleveland, but yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
So with that, March Madness officially underway in less than 60 seconds. And with March Madness being here, FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. That is 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. You can even pick who's going to cut down the nets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get in on all the college hoops action all tournament long at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, let's correct Mike in saying a game starting in 60 seconds. The first game is Creighton and Louisville at 12:15, Mike, not 12.
Oh, my bad.
Drop the ball.
Let's
Got
go
a
Creighton.
15-minute
And then
window.
High Point and Purdue.
Let's go Purdue.
They end the ability to
12:40.
enter any bracket group
12 o'clock,
at 12
yeah.
o'clock, which is why I assume that's when the game's tipped off. Bad job. Out of me.
I'm going to piss off Mike and hijack this for 30 seconds.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. Take
I
it.
went to Vegas one year for the first day of March Madness.
It's great, right?
Awesome. Have you ever done that? Have you ever been there for the first day of March Madness?
2019.
Yeah.
I did it.
I did
The best day, supposedly.
I did a story on it because I was in Arizona for spring training.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was going to drive up to, so I got in the rental and drove up to Vegas. And I went to like Jerry's Nugget where like you sell plasma across the street and then you go in there and you gamble with it. Like it is old, rough.
Real degenerates.
Yes,
in there.
like North Las Vegas. And then I went to Caesars.
Yeah.
And you've got like doctors betting $1,000 a game.
Yeah,
And it was wild, like juxtaposing the two. But it was a great, I mean, I had like 2 or 3 days, just like that Thursday, Friday
Yeah.
in Vegas. If you love gambling and like love college hoops,
Yeah.
there is nothing better than going to Vegas for the first 2 days of, or really the first weekend.
It is a
of
lot
March
of fun.
Madness.
It's an exciting time of the year. Mike, go ahead. What are we talking about with the Cavs?
Yeah, so we're going to do this real quick.
Yeah.
The timing of this is unfortunate, but if we didn't do it now, we would never get it in because the Cavs obviously have lost 3 straight. However, NBA.com puts out its MVP ladder each week, and it comes out on Sunday mornings, and then
Yeah.
it updates every Sunday. And I don't always agree with it. It's one writer's opinion, so it's not official by any means. But in his most recent,
Thanks for clarifying. We thought it would be official.
but it's from NBA.com, so I just want people to understand it's one writer for NBA.com's
Yeah, I got you.
opinion,
I
not
got
like
you.
the official updated ballot or tally.
Yeah.
In the most recent edition of this is how his top 10 came out. Number 1 was Jokic, ahead of SGA, even though SGA is going
Jokic-
to win.
Well, because of, again, the writers do a terrible job. They vote based on agendas.
No, I think SGA is a legitimate case. I think SGA should win it
Jokic
this
should
year.
win, though. He's by far
No.
the best player.
No, I disagree.
You disagree?
I disagree. The on-off numbers for SGA and Jokic are in the same ballpark.
What is
this
that?
year.
What are the on-off numbers?
How the Thunder do when SGA is not on the court versus how the Nuggets do when Jokic isn't on the court. Jokic is incredible. Like I think those are 1-2, and then there's a giant gap. But
There's going to still be people that don't vote for him because he's won 3 years
that's
in a row.
that's
which is
fair.
Stupid.
I just think there's a legitimate
Yeah.
case.
Okay, fine.
So they have Jokic first, SGA 2. Those two have essentially flip-flopped 1 and 2 all season long on the NBA.com MVP ladder. They had Giannis 3rd, Jason Tatum 4th, Donovan Mitchell 5th. First time he's entered the top 5 all season.
Which is
when you
weird
look at
because
6
he's
to
not
10,
playing well right now.
I know. It's a weird
Yeah.
the timing of this. Once again, this came out before
Yeah.
the Orlando game, so they
Right.
were still riding a 16-game win streak at the time of this publishment.
Aha.
If you go to 6 through 10, Steve, go down 1. Look at number 7.
Wow.
Evan Mobley came in at number 7 on this week's NBA.com MVP ladder, just behind Steph, ahead of LeBron, Kate Cunningham, and Jalen Brunson. When I saw this, Mitchell at 5, I was like, that makes sense. I didn't put Mobley anywhere near the top 10 in MVP conversations. I didn't think he was at that level. Do you guys think it's an appropriate placement of Evan Mobley, or is this way too way too high for him considering. And then once again, remind this was before the Orlando game.
Yeah.
When this was published, it was a 16-game win
I mean, the
streak.
guys 6 through 10, it's pretty meaningless, but I was shocked to see Evan Mobley there. As much as I like him.
It's the only team with 2 in the top 10, isn't it?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Donovan's a little high.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I think Donovan's a little, but he's going to get the credit for the Cavs doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
I do think this is probably the last year that Donovan finishes ahead of Evan in MVP voting. I think that probably flips as early as next year, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
Am I surprised about it?
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm not surprised. I mean, the Cavs are the best team in basketball, or the second best team in basketball, however you want to look at it. And they've got, like, really good players. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell would be in there. No one would even have a question about it.
Yeah.
Evan Mobley has taken such a leap this year.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody should be surprised. If you've watched the Cavaliers this year, the biggest surprise has been the jump that Evan Mobley has taken. Should he be at 7? I mean, you could probably nitpick that. Probably both ways, actually. You could say he belongs outside the top 10 or whatever, something like that. But he's had a hell of a year, guys. On
amazing.
Arguably the best team in basketball.
If you had to make a top 10 list, would you have him ahead of LeBron?
Ahead of LeBron?
Ahead of LeBron.
And LeBron's what, like 8 or 9 there?
8.
LeBron was one behind him at
8.
8, yes.
Would I have Evan ahead of LeBron?
No, you can't. LeBron's having, by most players' account, an MVP type
And
of
they're
year.
having a good season now. Where are they in the West? Aren't they 4?
According to the most updated NBA standings, the Lakers are 3rd in the West, 1 game back of Houston
To
for
the
second.
surprise of no one, Doncic totally flipped their trajectory. Like that trade totally
I
flipped
wouldn't
their
be I wouldn't be
trajectory.
shocked if the Lakers are in the finals.
No.
Not at all. How could
Kidding
you
me?
be?
Like this is like LeBron's last real good. Like Doncic is healthy. LeBron's having a good year. He's healthy. Like he will go all in and flip that switch.
Luka was in the finals last year with Kyrie. LeBron is better than Kyrie. I would rather have LeBron right now than Kyrie.
And they got a bunch of other dudes out there in LA that are scrappy. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I want Austin
They're
Reeves on
for
my
sure.
team.
And that's why I said the other day, like, I'm not going to get worked up about the top seed overall over the West, because if I had to pick right now, I'd pick probably OKC to win the West, but it's not like I have a great level of confidence.
They haven't done anything
There's
either.
a ton of teams in the West that could come out.
Denver?
So, yeah. Denver for sure could come out of the West.
So would you, Mike, would you have LeBron ahead of Evan Mobley? Because I would.
I would too, yeah.
What's LeBron's numbers, by the way?
While Mike's looking that up, part of the beauty with the Cavs is how balanced they are.
Right.
Like that's, and again, Evan's sort of the face of the team, so he's going to get the credit. And
Donovan, you mean?
Sorry,
Yeah.
Donovan's is still the face of this
Yeah.
team, so they're going to put the MVP votes on him because this team is so remarkable. You got to have
Yeah.
somebody up there, but Darius has had an incredible bounce back year.
Yeah.
Evan's obviously taken a huge leap.
Yeah.
Donovan's actually taken a step back
Yeah.
to allow those guys to breathe a little bit more. So it's hard to give it to just one guy. So they may both come down for where they realistically should be.
Right.
Because it isn't just one man carrying this thing. So
Donovan's like representing the Cavs.
yeah.
Yes.
But I'm
Yeah.
telling you, I think this is the last year that's the case. I think
LeBron's averaging 25, 8, and 8 on 52%
it's
shooting.
insane. It's totally insane.
And he's,
He's 41, right?
No. He turned
He
40 in
turned-
December, right?
He turned 40 in December.
Yeah, he's also shooting 38.5% from 3, which is the second highest of his career, on the third highest volume of his career. He's having an incredible season.
His numbers are not any different than what he was in his prime.
It's crazy. Someone had this the other day. The
Yeah.
year that Derrick Rose won the MVP, his numbers were the exact same as LeBron's this year.
Yeah. That's sick.
Like most players are, when you put up these numbers,
Yeah.
win the MVP.
Yeah. And
I
he's
mean,
not even getting.
no,
He shouldn't be 9 on the list or 8.
no, he should probably be top 5.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason he's knocked is he's only played 59 games, or 50. How many games did I just see? 58 games this season.
How many do you
which
have to
is
play to be considered?
65.
So you got to play 6 more.
Which he'll get to,
He'll
but
get
compared to the other guys they've all played more at this point.
I don't even care, though.
I'm just trying to give you a little insight into why I think
Yeah.
he may be lower, but I'm with you. He should be
All right.
higher. So
keep
shout
it-
out to Mobley, shout out to Donovan.
Yeah.
I think Donovan will finish 5th, by the way. I know Jason said he thinks it's a little high. I think Donovan
Does it
will end
matter?
up
It doesn't matter.
finishing 5th. Top 5 MVP finish does
Yeah.
go on your basketball reference page. And as we learned earlier from Jared Allen,
Yeah.
the Cavs care about what's on their basketball reference page.
phenomenal.
Jason asked a question. I wasn't there on Sunday, so he'd give you a little more insight into that.
No, I didn't.
You asked Kenny
Again,
about
it's a
Jared
team
Terry.
award.
Donovan
Mitchell is playing well, not at the moment, but he's played really well this season, and he's been a great leader for the best team in the East. And that's why he's 5th.
Yeah.
He's not if you were drafting the best teams right now, even for just this year, he would not go 5th.
Donovan has been exactly what this franchise has needed from the day he got here. Like,
He has been.
truly.
You're right.
In terms of the way he's led, what he said on the record, the way he's carried himself, the way he's conducted himself, he's exactly what they needed. And now to sort of have the awareness and the self-confidence to be able to say, hey, we're better if I take a step back and allow these guys to grow. He's been exactly what they've been.
A lot of the other players on that top 10 list wouldn't do that.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to – and it's not that he's declining. He's, 28 years old? He's not declining.
No.
But it's realizing, hey, we are better if I don't carry such a heavy load.
Right.
It's good on him.
All right, Mike.
Let's talk Nick Chubb, guys. A quick reminder, today's episode is brought to you by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build and practicing every detail to get the best results, but no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier at Epicor. The all-stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier, seeing your whole supply chain easier, managing logistics easier, responding to price changes also easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global visions, we'll equip you with the right tools that you need to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way, because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most out of every hardworking minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier finds the lane. Discover your success at www.easierwithepicor.com. That is easierwithepicor.com. Guys, the Browns have not made any free agent signings on offense in terms of skill positions. They did sign DeAndre Carter, who's more of a kick returner than a receiver. But outside of that, they've made no additions in skill positions, specifically in terms of the running back position. So I took a look at the top running backs remaining on the market that are free agents. Steve, you want to take this graphic full? The list includes Dobbins, Cam Akers, Trey Sermons, Jamal Williams, and one Nicholas Jamal Chubb. Do you guys believe the longer this plays out with Chubb not getting a deal, whether it be Cleveland or another team, does that increase or decrease his chances of having a comeback with the Browns? Bull?
I mean, we knew Nick Chubb wasn't going to be signed right away. None of those guys in that list are hot commodities. J.K. Dobbins finally had a nice year and stayed relatively healthy, but he really just had a good start, and then he kind of went off the cliff the rest of the way. The other three guys on that list are totally useless. So Mary Kay said to me yesterday she still thinks there's a possibility that Nick could come back, but the Browns have made it very clear that they're kind of moving on. I don't know. I guess it depends what happens in the draft. I expect them to draft a young back. They do still have Jerome Ford. I don't know. I mean, Nick Chubb's not getting significant money from anybody.
I'll say what people don't want to say. Did you watch him last year?
Yeah, but
it was tough.
It was,
tough to watch
now
him.
A year off injury, maybe he has one bounce back season in him.
Yeah, you know who's probably seen him? The Browns.
Yeah.
I mean, like we don't
You're
know.
right.
I mean, I'm guessing as much as the Browns have been in love with Nick Chubb and the fans have been in love with Nick Chubb, we all saw what we saw last year. It was sad.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, he couldn't move. Like he couldn't have any burst. The explosion wasn't there. The lateral agility wasn't there. Like just not the same player. And that's not to say he can't get better than that or recover. But like what we saw last year was not an NFL running back.
No, but how much is it going to cost you to pay him? I mean, he's not getting any guarantee or almost no guaranteed money.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it's a roster spot.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I think that I would have brought him back. I think the ship has sailed. I think he'll end up going somewhere else.
Feels like
I haven't heard his name anywhere.
Nowhere. No. Why? I mean, I don't know why you would at this point.
It feels like an after-draft conversation at this point.
Yes.
Teams are going to go through the draft.
Yeah.
Target running backs. Then when they get through the draft, undrafted free agents, and then maybe you circle back to it. I certainly would love to see him back.
Freaking wish Kareem Hunt was still here.
Just bring him back to camp. I mean, they thought he was done too.
I know.
And I still maintain that
He's
done.
He's a serviceable backup running back.
Fills a very specific niche role.
Yeah.
But he's not.
Scores touchdowns.
He does. Yeah. He's a good short yardage back. I'm not even going to say it again. But the Nick thing, I'd like to see him come. Just bring him to camp. Like if no one else is going to pick him up, just bring him to camp. Give him a chance.
I think he's not going to sign a contract before the draft.
It doesn't.
Somebody, whether it's the Browns or somebody else, will give him an opportunity in camp.
I don't think the Browns would bring him as like a camp guy, like a minimum and just no guaranteed money.
If he's got no better offers.
Yeah.
I just think that. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I feel like that'd be a distraction.
I think somebody will give him a little guaranteed money, a little, like maybe $2 million.
Because if he's in camp, dude, the fans are going to want him on the team.
Right.
Yeah.
I just think he's going to go somewhere else. I think even for him, if you're Nick Chubb right now,
actually, it'd be worse to have to cut him. You know what I
saying.
mean?
Right,
At the
right,
camp.
If he comes to camp, he has to be on the team.
If you get him to the end of camp and then you cut him.
At this point,
you haven't cut him.
If you were going to keep him, you should have just kept him.
Yeah.
Now that he's a free agent, he's going to go somewhere else, and somebody will pay him $2 million. But if you're Nick Chubb, first of all, you're still rehabbing probably from the other injury you had last year. If you're Nick Chubb, I would want to wait until after the draft and see what's a team that, if I'm right, that I could possibly get some playing time for. Because not every team is going to have a short thing at running back. We see it every year.
Right.
There'll be 2-3 teams after the draft that you're like, I'm not sure who their starting running back is. And one of those teams will sign Nick Chubb. They'll pay him $1.5 million or $2 million with some incentives, and he'll get an opportunity. But I can't imagine anything. The fact that there's no talk about him or he hasn't signed is meaningless because I never expected him to sign early.
I'm rooting for Nick Chubb.
We all are.
I love the guy. I mean, I feel so bad for the player because he's had to go through so much adversity, and there would be nothing better, nothing greater to see him have a comeback.
Yeah.
Whether it's here or somewhere else where he can like, I mean, guys have significant injuries all the time, and they come back, and there's nothing more like fulfilling and rewarding, even as a fan, is to see a player be able to get back to where he was after a very severe injury. So it's tough for running backs. It's tough for a guy who's had that many knee injuries at his age to come back. So obviously pulling for him, but I understand why the Browns are not like putting him as a priority because of, frankly, what you saw last year was not a capable NFL running back. It was not good enough.
May or Unfortunately. June, probably June he signs with somebody, maybe even July right before camp. I think we all agree his odds of coming back with the Browns haven't really increased.
So take out Chubb then.
Yeah.
Do you expect the Browns to do anything in the running back market pre-draft or everything they'll do?
They're not going to sign Dobbins. The rest of those guys are not even legitimate running backs. It's a
post-draft conversation.
Those guys are all like third backs in the league.
They're going to take a running back.
I would bet you that the Browns starting running back is like our third or fourth round pick.
Yep. I mean, they may
100%. I'd be shocked if they don't draft one in that by the fourth round.
Would they take? Probably not two, but I wouldn't rule it out taking two running backs in the draft.
You could take one in the third round, one in the sixth round.
Fine.
You know?
And then throw Ford in the mix, and then you got a nice little running back.
This draft is considered very good for running backs.
Yeah.
Running backs, defensive line, tight ends.
We asked McShay yesterday about the running backs.
Yeah.
And he listed off like 13 names and was like, I don't have time for all of them. After giving us a 3-minute answer on 13 different guys.
And because running backs get pushed down because of their position, so the elite running backs a lot of times get drafted late first, early second.
Yeah.
Where in a lot of other positions you can't get an elite player for that position. But even in the third, fourth round, there's going to be guys with good potential at the position. And it's obvious they're going to draft a running back. And I think it's very reasonable they could draft two running backs. Why not?
Yeah.
All right.
Last thing on Chubb, then we'll move on, talk a little Guardians before we have a fun little way to finish up today's show. But in terms of Nick Chubb, do you see any team giving him an opportunity other than come in and compete? Like, no one's going to guarantee him a starting job one way or another.
No one's going to guarantee him a starting job. You can't. I think he'll get some guaranteed money in the end. Somebody will give him a small guarantee, and maybe I'm wrong, but nobody's guaranteeing him a starting job. No way.
No chance that he's guaranteed a starting job.
No.
I haven't heard a thing about this guy.
But why would you at this point? He's just the type of player that's got to sign in July or June.
So could that just mean he's done? The league looks at him as being
He could be, definitely.
He totally could be.
Yes.
We've seen it with running back a million times.
Yes.
You've seen a guy who's a great back, and 2 years later he's out of the league. There's a laundry list of guys just in the last 10, 15 years like that. Stars, Pro Bowlers, All Pros, gone 2 years. We've seen it by far more than any other position at running back. They get old early, especially if they have injuries.
Well, you talk about Anthony Schwartz, the Minka hit. Where would he be right now? Where would this team be right now without Minka hitting, taking out his knee again?
Yeah.
It's impossible to say.
Probably would have had another great season. Probably would have been good last year.
There was a time he was on the Hall of Fame track.
Yes. That's why it's tricky with running backs,
Yeah.
you know. All right, Mike, go ahead.
All right, let's move on. Quick reminder, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We also have a UCSS TikTok account now, so if you want excerpts from the show that are edited in a little different, fancier way, follow us on TikTok. Trying to build a following there. EP Steve's running it, so don't get mad at any of us if you don't like the content. We have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It is EP Steve's baby, so follow him on
with
TikTok.
EPC?
You guys have
You know
TikTok?
me?
You have TikTok?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I didn't assume you did.
No.
I
Jason,
got a TikTok.
You got a TikTok?
Well, because I was making sure my kids were not doing anything stupid.
Yeah.
But I like TikTok.
Is that why you tell your wife about your Snapchat too?
I don't have to.
I'm sorry. I'm just busting your shit.
Dustin throwing the dagger. Speaking of throwing.
No adult should have a Snapchat. I'm just saying.
Speaking of throwing,
Yeah.
Steve, let's take tag board full here. The Guardians announced that Tanner Bibee will be their opening day starter in 2025.
I don't know why anybody was tweeting about this yesterday.
I know. I thought it was assumed.
Who else was in the discussion?
Did you know that the Pirates did a whole pre-recorded, edited video for Paul Skeens, as if there was any surprise who was going to be the Pirates?
That's fine. I got no problem with the Guardians and the Guardians beat reporters tweeting about it. It is an announcement.
It's news,
but I don't know why anybody else would talk about it as if there was no debate with the Guardians as to who they're starting. I mean, who else could you make an argument for opening day? There is nobody.
No. So that's what we're going to push the topic forward.
Yeah.
If you guys remember, Jason last season very incorrectly.
Yes.
I mean, he's had some bad takes on the show, but he lost to Tyvis in a baseball prediction segment.
Yes.
In terms of what's his bold prediction for 2024, he said Tanner Bibee would receive Cy Young votes.
And here's the problem with that. Not only did he lose to Tyvis, I lost to Tyvis too in that.
Bad job out of you.
But unlike Jason, I and Tyvis actually made bold predictions.
You made a ridiculous prediction.
I did. But that's what it's supposed to be, a bold prediction. Yours wasn't bold.
A second-year pitcher with catching Cy Young votes? That's pretty bold.
He'd shown so much talent the year before. That wasn't bold.
So I'm just saying Jason was wrong
lukewarm.
again. So I'll give him a chance to redeem himself. Is 2025 the year, Jason, that Tanner Bibee turns into a bona fide ace for the Cleveland Guardians?
I think, first of all, bona fide's 2 words, not one.
You know what? There was 3 different ways I looked into spelling it, and that's the one I decided on. But if you really think it's 2 words, Jason, this is your topic. There you go. Happy now.
Under the radar, we know Anthony can't spell to save his life. Under the radar, Mike's not a great speller either.
No, I just typed too fast.
Don't drag me into this.
Sorry.
But no,
Anthony's
grammar,
catching
we've talked about
strays.
this. Grammar is not our strong suit as a production.
Me neither. I'll be fair.
It's
I'm not great with grammar.
We admit our flaws. That is a flaw. Jason, the floor is yours.
I actually think the Guardians could have 2 bona fide aces by the end of the year, and that's not even counting Bieber because I don't count him this year coming back from injury.
Nope.
But, I mean, Gavin Williams looks like he's ready to explode this year, what he should have been last year without the injury. And I think Bibee's going to continue to progress. And, I like him as a top of the rotation type of arm. I think Gavin probably still has a little bit more upside, but you can have more than one ace on a team. I know every team has one ace at the top of the rotation, only one guy. But you can have
like 5.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can have guys who are the caliber and quality of being an ace, even if there is someone else who's as good or better than them. And I think Bibee absolutely fits that mold. Last year I think he had some rough patches, and there was times where I wanted to see him get deeper into games where I thought his pitch count got a little high early on in games, and feel like he's maybe messing around or trying to get strike. Just get the guy out and be economical with your pitches, so you can get a little bit deeper into the 6th inning. But it's a little bit nitpicking. I think Tanner Bibee's really freaking good. And I think this is the year where he really sort of solidifies himself as that guy at the top of the rotation. And there's room in this rotation for Gavin Williams to establish himself as that guy too.
Dustin, you, as a casual fan, do you think of Tanner Bibee as you have other great Guardians pitchers, or you're not ready to go there yet?
I don't, but I'm casual. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't consider him like some of the really strong opening day guys we've had in the past.
Yep, that's fair.
Is that fair? It is fair, right?
I think it's fair. Yeah, I mean he hasn't proven enough yet.
He hasn't gotten a Cy Young vote
He's
yet.
proven he's a good pitcher. He hasn't proven he's a great pitcher.
Fair.
Right. Gavin Williams has got a chance to be good too.
He does. They both have a chance to be great. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a possibility if, let's say, everything goes right. Last year, everything went wrong. For the Guardians, things mostly went right. But in terms of starting pitching, everything went wrong.
It could have been worse. Well, it could have been worse, but not by much.
But no, it went about as bad as it could.
Yeah.
If it goes the opposite way this year, it's not crazy that by September you could have 3 ace-level pitchers on the Guardians.
Absolutely.
It's not crazy.
No.
It's not that much of a stretch because Bibee's done more than Gavin Williams. I think Gavin Williams, as you said, has more upside. Ultimately, he is a little more talented, I think, than Bibee. And that's not because Bibee's not talented. It's because I think Gavin Williams is crazy talented. And then Bieber, it's just a matter of how quick does he recover from the Tommy John surgery. By September, could he be pitching like an ace? Yeah. I mean, and big if, but if Bibee, Williams, and Bieber are all pitching like an ace or close to it in September, then obviously the Guardians could be a potentially very dangerous playoff team.
When did Bieber have the surgery?
April, or was it early May last year?
April.
It was April.
It was April because we found out the day we were at the card show.
Right. Okay, so it was April. So,
So we're thinking about a year and change,
It's usually
and he
a year
has a
and change.
chance to be back on the field.
There's no guarantee he's even going to pitch this year. It's not a guarantee. I think he will, but
I would say conservatively, I would say August.
Yeah.
A lot of these April guys.
yeah.
It's late July, early
Tommy
August.
Yeah.
John like the ACL for football players, like it used to be. Like back in the day, even
It was the end.
It was the end. Like when my uncles played in,
Yeah.
in the 70s and 80s, even in the 90s, like guys would tear their ACL, you'd be like, oh, it's a death sentence.
Right.
To your
to
your career.
Oh yeah, if you tore your elbow, or you did any kind of serious damage to your arm pre 70s, you were finished.
You were done, man.
Or you were pitching with extremely diminished stuff,
Yeah.
and you just weren't good. In those days, the bullpen was all guys who couldn't start anymore. They weren't good.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of Bieber, I can see him pitching in the minors at some point in July.
I've seen June, and I'm like, man, that seems awfully early.
Maybe in the minors by late June, I guess. But that still seems aggressive.
I mean, you got 1 year. You got 1 year with him, right?
Yeah.
If all goes well this year, he's going to opt out and he's going to sign
Right.
a big deal next year. You want him in September
Yeah.
and October.
Right.
So just don't rush it until then. The worst thing you could have is a setback, is that it makes
Yeah.
it off or not. I don't think we'd see him before late July, but who knows? Maybe I'm
and
wrong.
I would be extreme. I mean, like you said, we got one more playoff run with him,
Yeah.
potentially.
There's no need to rush
I
it
would
for-
be beyond conservative with his rehab.
Yeah.
Because I don't care if he makes 4 starts before. Matthew Boyd last year, Alex Cobb,
I know.
Cobb especially, barely pitched. And this guy's obviously way more talented than those guys.
I think you need him by September because you need him to knock the rust off, and you need him to
Right, but that could be
gain
4 starts,
confidence.
5 starts, you know?
Yeah, but I think by September.
Yes.
I mean, I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
but it's not like you want to hold him until October.
No. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if he only makes 4, 5, 6 starts in the regular
That's
season,
okay.
I can live with that.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'd better that than let's get him back by the end of
Right.
of July. They don't need to be that aggressive. I
Yeah.
mean, the Guardians are, I think, a pretty good team. I think there is some variance as to how good they can be, but I'd say the same thing about the other teams in this division.
Yep.
Forget the White Sox; they're obviously horrible. The other 4 teams in this division, I don't think any of them are great, and I don't think any of them are bad. They all could be. Things go really well, they could win high 80s. Things go poorly, they could win mid 70s. I think all 4 teams are competitive and close. I expect the division to be close. I think the Guardians have a reasonable chance to win the division again. I don't expect them to win it by as much as they did last year. But I think if you stay in there, if you're in the mix and can get Bieber back for the last 6 weeks of the season, that could be the difference. You know?
It'd be a heck of a rotation to run out.
Yeah.
Games 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Williams, Bibee, and Bieber in whatever order you want.
Yeah. And, it's going to be interesting in the American League because in the National League, obviously the Dodgers are an overwhelming favorite.
Yeah.
But in the American League, it's a 4-team race in the Central. I think a lot of people had the Yankees up, but with Garrett Cole out for the season, Luis Gil's going to miss half the season.
Yep.
They're an old team. I never predicted them to do well because they're an old team. They're starting the season with like a dozen guys on the injured list. I don't like their rotation right now.
Yeah.
I think their lineup is way overrated because a lot of people are like, well, they replaced Soto with Bellinger and Goldschmidt. Okay. Those guys are okay. Soto's a top 5 player. So the American League East, I think, is wide open.
It's wide open. Boston could win it. Baltimore could
all
win it.
5 teams, I
Tampa
think.
could win it.
Look at Toronto's rotation.
Yeah, I know.
It could be great.
I don't love Toronto.
I don't love
for some
Toronto
reason.
either, but like there's a path to them winning the division.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's not like a, and then in the West, I like the Rangers. The Astros are still decent.
Yeah.
The Mariners, if they can hit a little bit. Oakland's improved. They're not going to win a division, but they're improved.
But they're much better than they were
competitive.
last year.
I mean, who am I forgetting in the West?
Angels.
Oh, they suck.
Forgettable.
The Angels and the White Sox suck. Everybody else is competitive in the American League. The A's won't win it. There's 3 teams that have no shot at making the playoffs. The A's, the Angels, the White Sox. That's it. And even the A's, I think, will be competitive. More competitive. So there you go, Mike. But anything else on the Guardians that you want us to talk about?
No, it's mostly that. But one thing with Bibee,
Yeah.
real quick, just to bring it back to where we started.
Yeah.
He went through good stretches, bad stretches, just inconsistent, I think was the word you used to describe it. He was overall pretty good for the most
They asked
part,
a lot of a guy in his second year. Like, they asked him to carry a heavy, heavy load last year because of all the injuries. And I think we talked about at the time, like, is it fair? No, but sorry, life isn't fair, and this is what you need to do this year. This is what we expect out of you. And for the most part, I think he lived up to it.
He did. I think the step, obviously Gavin Williams has further to go, but the big step to me that I want to see from both of these guys this year is their ability to close out those middle innings.
Yeah.
I think we've seen them both, more Gavin Williams, but we've seen them both kind of rolling early in games, and then they'll get a 4th or 5th inning where it takes them like 30 pitches to get out of the inning. They can't get that third out. Maybe they're trying. I think Williams sometimes gets enamored with the strikeouts.
I think they both do.
Right? And they both do. And you got to learn, like, the Guardians have a pretty good defense. Let a guy roll over one.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect. Don't try to strike everybody out. And, get some easy outs and get through 6 innings. The Guardians' bullpen got worn down. We saw it in the playoffs.
Yeah. And that was the big – I mean, we spent multiple shows last year talking about Bibee's pitch count and how he's not getting deep enough into games and needs to get a little bit deeper into games.
Yeah.
So hopefully this year that happens.
Yeah.
I think Gavin Williams is on the verge of a monster year.
Right.
I think he would have had it last year, and he got hurt at the end of spring training, and it just took way longer for him to get over than he realized. And then remember there was the stuff with his fastballs getting hit harder than it ever has.
He was maybe tipping.
He was tipping that a little bit. They cleaned that up. They figured that out.
Yeah.
So. I think Williams could have he could be the ace by like the number 1 by the end of the year.
Now the rest of the rotation early in the season, I mean, Luis Ortiz did a nice job with Pittsburgh last year. They got him as part of the 3-way trade on
He's not had a great
spring. He's been
spring.
awful in spring training. Yeah. Slade Ciccone, who's a top prospect, was terrible in the majors last year. Not having a great spring. He's hurt.
Yep.
Ben Lively, I mean, he was great. Can you expect that again? Can he be a legitimate third starter?
He's going to have to be.
He was last year.
Yeah, he's going to have to be for right now.
Tristan McKenzie, the velocity's up. That's positive.
Yeah,
but he's getting smoked, and he has no command.
Yeah, and he has no options left. So that's a really tricky decision.
It's a trick. By the way, did you see? I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday. Carlos Carrasco is going to be the 5th starter for the Yankees to start the season.
Oh, God. I mean, good for him.
Yeah, I think he's going to be, but it looks that way. All right, Mike. Oh, you got a new game for us, right?
It's not a game. It's just something fun we're going to end with.
Okay.
Once again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Come see us at the Comedy Show next Friday, 9:30. Tickets available online. All money goes to charity. Hope to see you guys there. All right, you got to get out your phones. I'm texting you a picture of the bracket that we are about to break down. This bracket comes from our friend Dollar Dog Nick on Twitter. He posted a ton of memes. He is a very funny guy online, and it is the Browns quarterback March Sadness bracket. So in honor of March Madness starting today, we are going to fill out our sad quarterback bracket for the Cleveland Browns. So
now,
guys,
are we making our picks based on reality or what we want?
We're going to talk about how we want to do this. So do we want to do it based on reality? Do we want to do what we think is realistic, what we want? I feel like if we do what we want, Cam Ward's the obvious. We'd all take Cam Ward. So I feel like we should go with the realistic.
Let's factor in reality into this.
Okay.
All right?
So let's fill it out. So to anyone who can't see, this is the bracket. I'll
Yeah.
read you the seeds. In the 1 versus 16 matchup, it's Cam Ward, the 1 seed, versus Deshaun in a walking boot in the 1-16 matchup. In the 8-9 matchup, it's Kenny Pickett versus Jackson Dart. The 5-12 matchup, Kirk Cousins versus Carson Wentz. The 4-13 matchup, Russell Wilson versus Trey Lance. The 6-11 matchup, Joe Flacco versus Will Howard. 3 versus 14 is Aaron Rodgers versus Kyle McCord. 10 versus 7 is Jalen Milroe versus Jameis Winston. And the 2-15 is Shedeur Sanders versus Quinn Ewers.
Okay.
So let's start at the top, and we'll work our way down. Cam or Deshaun in a walking boot?
This is hard.
This is hard because, it is hard because Cam Ward may not be realistic.
Oh, well,
But we got to face real. We got to put
well,
realism.
I don't know that anyone wants to see Deshaun in a walking boot.
No, I don't know if that's
So,
realistic either.
yeah.
So we'll go Cam Ward for this one.
Yeah.
All right, so Anthony's making the bracket. We're going to follow this to the very end.
Okay.
So we have Cam Ward advancing.
Yeah.
In this 8-9 matchup, will Cam Ward face Kenny Pickett or Jackson Dart in the
Dart.
second round?
Dart.
Easy money. Next, 5-12, a popular upset region and seeding in
Yeah.
the NCAA tournament. Can Carson Wentz upset Kirk Cousins?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think they're getting Kirk Cousins. I don't think that's realistic. If the Falcons were going to cut him, they would have cut him already. And now it's going to have to be a trade, and the Browns can't afford to pay him. So
Jason?
I will defer to these guys because I have no strong feelings on either one of these guys. I mean, Atlanta could eat some of the money. Atlanta's essentially trying to buy a draft pick, and they know they're going to have to eat some of the money. It just comes down to how much money are they willing to eat and how high are the Browns willing to go on a pick.
right.
Wentz.
But what would be the point of going that high on a pick for Kirk Cousins?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Wentz.
Wentz. All right, Wentz.
We'll go with Wentz. In the 4-13 matchup, Russell Wilson versus Trey Lance.
I mean,
It's Russ.
Wilson.
Trey Lance.
I mean,
What happened? That guy.
Back
how
up
did the-
in Dallas, dude.
What's crazy is that the 49ers are one of the smartest organizations.
they missed.
It's even smart teams miss,
I
man.
know, but that was such a bad miss.
They got out of it.
To the point
Quick.
that-
They got lucky.
Quick.
They got
No, but I'm
lucky. They
just
fell
saying,
into
like,
Brock Purdy.
How did and nobody's even really given him a chance. I guess he's that bad.
Well, I said the other day.
Yeah.
I would you're at the point if you're the Browns, you're at the throw crap against the wall phase of this.
I heard that beat got blown out of proportion.
It got way, but it's fine, whatever. Yeah. But my point was, give me a young guy on a rookie contract who might have something that you can pull out of him over some of these veterans.
Yeah,
but in this instance, obviously Russ Wilson's a better quarterback than Trey Lance at this point.
This 6-11 matchup, I think Jay's going ball trying to pick. I'm not sure if Jay could survive if this was
That's
a
an
real
old
decision.
white guy special right
He'd
there.
have to make Joe Flacco versus Will Howard in the 6 versus 11.
Oh my God!
I would take Will Howard.
I'm taking Joe Flacco in that one.
Flacco.
Dustin got the tiebreaker.
Flacco wins.
Flacco advances. Okay, in the 3-14, Aaron Rodgers taking on Kyle McCord.
Kyle
who will be
McCord,
part of
man.
the breakdown.
Give me Kyle
that
McCord.
No
Sean
chance
King,
Aaron Rodgers is playing here.
Kyle McCord.
Kyle McCord.
Sean King's doing a Kyle McCord breakdown tomorrow.
Okay.
Sean King very high on Kyle McCord.
Wow.
Just a little teaser. He thinks he
Certainly
could be,
wasn't high on Will Howard.
No, we're also doing Will Howard tomorrow. You will get Kyle McCord in
he
the
thinks he
YouTube show,
sucks.
Will Howard in the TV show. Very different opinions
Yeah.
from Sean King on those two.
This one's interesting.
Yeah.
7-10, Jameis versus Jalen Milroe.
See, that's easy to me is Jalen Miller.
I would say Jalen Milroe, but it's two totally different styles.
Right,
Like,
but Kevin doesn't like Winston, so I don't think it's realistic that he's bringing him back.
no, he's not. bringing
Kevin's
him back.
flexing the muscles right now.
He's not. It's not just Kevin. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody in the organization wants to bring him back.
Milroe.
Milroe.
So Milroe in our last first-round matchup, Shedeur versus Quinn Ewers, who we haven't talked about really at all.
Now,
Shedeur.
Shedeur.
All right, Ant,
We will
read us the
continue to not talk
first-round
about
results.
Quinn Ewers.
Ant with the first-round
All right,
results.
so Ward and Dart are going up against each other. Wentz and Wilson are going
Can
up
we
against each other.
update this board or no?
No.
Why don't
Tag
point-
board's gone,
Why?
guys.
Because Tag Board left us. We're now stuck
Mike.
with Social News Desk. Social News Desk
I
is
hear you.
ass.
Listen, there's no point in Anthony reading the whole list. Just give us one at a time now, and let's do it.
That's what he was doing.
I was reading the whole list. All right, your next matchup, Ward and Dart.
Ward and Dart.
Now here's where reality has to factor in.
Yeah, I got to go Dart because I just don't. I think Ward's going one, and the Browns are not going to trade up there.
Dart.
So Dart advances. Cousins versus Wilson.
Wilson. I don't have to trade anything to get Wilson.
No, it's Wentz versus Wilson.
Wentz versus Wilson.
It's
Oh,
Wentz
sorry.
versus Wilson.
That is tougher.
Wilson.
Yeah, I would say Wilson. I don't even want him here, but
I'm going to go Wentz, but I got outvoted. I think Russell Wilson's going to be looking for more money than the Browns want to pay.
So
Whereas
Wilson,
Wentz is going to cost nothing.
Wilson wins 2-1.
Yes.
All right, next matchup: Flacco and McCord.
Flacco.
again, what are you trying to? Where are you trying to go with Flacco? Give me the young guy. Give me
All right.
McCord.
McCord it is.
And the last second-round matchup, Ant?
We got Milroe and Sanders.
I think this. I don't like the seedings because I think Milroe could have gone a lot further in another bracket.
I agree.
I'm going to go Shador.
Shador.
All right, the final four.
Dart versus Wilson.
I'll go Dart.
All right, and McCord versus Sanders.
Sanders.
Yeah.
Dart or Sanders?
Sanders.
Sanders wins.
And it's a epic 2-seed run for Shador Sanders. To recap,
March Sanders.
the number 1 seed Cam Ward was upset by Jackson Dart in the second round.
Yeah.
It's almost like St. John's as a 2-seed bowl was destiny in this bracket, in your real bracket, in all the brackets for the expressive time.
Yes. All right. I thought it was we need to. I remember at one point they made brackets. Somebody, maybe it was what's his name, McNeil, did a bracket of like sports media members in Cleveland years ago. I feel like we need to do one of those again. I think Ken won. He wins all those things. Ken's very likable.
He tells people what they want to hear,
Yes, he does.
not what they need to hear.
That's true. He knows that.
I've told him that.
Yep. Anyway, there you go. Oh, we got plenty of time left here, Mike. You want to do super chats and then we'll get to something else?
We have no super chats.
Even better.
What is happening?
I don't. We flew through today's show.
No super. I think that's the first time we've ever had no super chats.
I know, no super chats. It's crazy. But
Yeah.
we didn't do this yesterday. Anthony wanted to do it, but
What is it?
the Guardians still don't have a channel, right? Do you have any idea, any insight, Jason Bull, on how this is going to get sorted out? What's going to be?
Their games will be on a.
They will be on a TV station.
Yeah,
I know that.
I thought it would have been announced by now.
Yeah.
It will be announced before the opener. I think it very well could wind up back on Bally's. I think, but it's
Right.
under a different type of deal.
I'll just say this: everybody, don't panic. There's going to be a channel,
or maybe it's channel 3. I don't know where.
I don't know what channel it's going to be, but they're going to be on a channel that
Yes.
people can watch.
There needs to be like baseball is. This is like the uncomfortable middle right now, where
Yeah.
they're trying to get to the other side, where baseball controls a lot of
Right.
these.
They do control like now 6, 7.
More than that. It's higher than
I
that.
paid $150 for all the MLB games. I mean, it's a good deal.
Yeah.
I will be doing that as well.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you do that.
Me?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I didn't think you're a big baseball guy. It's just the gambling.
Depends on who's playing.
Yeah. Right.
Depends on who's playing. Yeah.
But you could pay to have just the Guardians through MLB, especially if you live out of the area.
Yeah.
There's no more blackouts if you pay for the Guardians.
Right.
It's $99 for the whole year, which is a good deal. But it will be on a channel. I just don't know what channel yet. Obviously, there'll be an announcement before the season. Opening day is 1 week from today in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Playing one of the division rivals. So it's going to be Bieber and Cole Reagans on opening day.
Not Bieber.
Bibee.
Bibee.
Yeah.
It's too close.
If
You're not the
Bieber's
only
on
one that's
opening
made
day.
that,
Yeah.
that confusion.
What's that?
You're not the only one that's made that
No,
mistake.
I mean the names
They're
are
very
very
close.
similar.
Yeah. I think I went through Amazon Prime for the baseball. Is that what you do? I think I got the baseball package through Amazon.
No, I just did it through MLB.com.
Oh, I don't know.
They actually automatically renewed me from last year. I didn't even realize.
Yeah,
I was going to do it anyway.
I think Amazon does that to me.
But it's good. I mean, I was watching. The Cubs-Dodgers game was on Fox. Those games in Japan, but I wanted to watch them on the Cubs channel, so I was able to do
Were
it.
those regular season games?
Yes.
So stupid. It's so stupid.
had-
Why is it so
Hold on,
stupid?
hold on.
I got no problem
Hold on.
with it.
It's dumb.
They had a regular season game?
Yeah, exactly.
two.
You didn't even know.
Too.
They had
Because they played at 6 a.m.
I got no problem with it.
Oh, all right. Well, then the NFL for week 1 should play at 6 a.m. in Tokyo. And
It's so stupid.
If they played one game at 6 a.m. in Tokyo, I wouldn't care.
the first game, like baseball sucks at marketing, and this is just another example.
I
of
think
how
people are making
far
too big a deal.
No, it's
opening day is still going to be a big deal.
but
What's the difference?
It's not opening day anymore. They already had opening day.
It's opening day to
and
Dustin
it was
didn't even
huge
know.
there.
So what? The
They're
game's
trying
here.
to spread. They're trying to spread the sport.
When is the first opening day? Like outside of the.
Thursday next week. Everybody else, or I think everybody else plays Thursday next week.
So why they have to do it so early?
Because they're sending Shohei back to Japan.
Well, because of the travel, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, like they couldn't travel like closer to real opening day.
Well, I think they want to give them time to get back and
Because they go back to spring training for a couple of days before they.
It's
wrap
so
up.
dumb. It's so dumb.
It is really dumb.
I got no problem with it.
It's dumb.
You guys,
I don't have a problem with them playing over there.
Yeah.
The timing of it makes no sense.
Yeah.
I just think it's.
If you want to play over there closer to the All-Star break.
Well, for all the curmudgeonness, fine. You don't like it, fine.
It's not curmudgeon. It's trying to promote the sport.
I will say that it was nuts in that stadium for those games. It was really great for people in Japan because there were 5 really good. I mean, Ohtani's the biggest star.
Yeah.
And he's like Taylor Swift over there.
Yeah.
But it was 5 really good Japanese players. 3 of the 4 starters in the series were Japanese. And the players all had an amazing time, apparently. So it was cool. And, obviously the Dodgers kicked the Cubs' ass in those 2 games, even without Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, who didn't play any.
They're unbelievable.
But, the whole season is going to be about the Dodgers are the new evil empire, and can someone take them down?
I mean, they could win 120, 130 games.
No.
Yes, they could.
No, that's
yes,
too
they
much.
could. They could. I'm not saying
130?
they will. I'm not saying they will.
I think you're going over the
injuries,
top.
no. But injuries, they have to stay healthy. They have to stay.
Already got a dozen guys on the injured list.
They have to stay locked in. More
Yeah.
pitching. I mean, they're so deep. I mean, they're so deep in rotation too.
I mean,
if they win 125 games, you're gonna be shocked.
I would be. Yeah.
I don't think I would be.
130.
Maybe I got carried. Maybe I got carried.
That would set the record.
Maybe I got carried. Okay.
I mean,
This is a team that could set the record. The Mariners won 118 a few years ago,
and then they flamed out. Years ago,
and then they flamed out in the playoffs. But they won like 118.
Yeah, they had Randy Johnson, they had Ichiro, they
this
had
team better than that team.
Listen, their lineup at the top is excellent. The rest of their lineup is just okay. Their rotation is the only thing that's ridiculous. Only their rotation is ridiculous.
They could easily win 120 games this year.
I don't agree with that.
I'm not saying they will.
Yeah.
They could. They're better than them.
Could they win 120? Sure.
Yeah.
They have enough talent. But their major strength is their rotation, right?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Blake Snell's injury prone. Tyler Glasnow's injury prone.
Thank God they go 8 deep.
They don't go 8 deep. Not with that level of pitcher. Yamamoto was not elite last year. Ohtani's not going to be pitching until May, and then Sasaki's a rookie. So, yes, their talent is unmatched, especially with starting pitching. They have 5 guys who are capable of being number 1 starters. But I don't think, as good as they are, I don't think it's easy to win 120 games.
Has there ever been another team that you said they could win 120 games in the last 20 years? Has there been a team where you said they could win
120? The last 20 years?
Yeah, where you said they could win 120 games.
Probably not.
I guess that's more my point.
Yeah, okay, fine. That's fair. I think you went a little nuts with the 130.
Probably.
I mean,
I probably got carried away with 130. But they could win 120, 125.
I'm just saying.
Him and I once argued for like 45 minutes to an hour over good versus great.
Yeah.
So
when
you're not going to win this.
But all I'm saying,
130. What the hell?
All I'm saying with the Dodgers is,
no way. 130. What?
Their team it's the best. There's no doubt about it. I don't think the bullpen and the lineup are outrageously better than other teams. I think their rotation is. And if it stays healthy, they're going to be nearly impossible to beat in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, they won it last year with essentially no rotation.
Yeah.
Glasnow was hurt. Snell wasn't on the team. Yamamoto, I can't remember. I don't think he was pitching all that well. Obviously, they didn't have Sasaki. Ohtani wasn't pitching last year. They had Walker Buehler.
I kind of checked out on the World Series last year after the Guardians were eliminated.
Well, they dominated the
Yankees. Couldn't even tell you much about it.
They won in 5 games. So.
All right, we have 2 Super Chats now.
Yes.
Halim says, Super Chat can't break the streak. Shout out to you, Halim.
All right, Halim.
And Mike Coleman says, Jason is going for the Gen Z TikToker look today. And I just came up with a new game we're going to play.
I think it's a good look outside the shoes. It's a
I like
up
Jason's
top
look
is
good.
good.
I'm not
Shoes
gonna
are
lie.
muddled. I need new
Why
ones.
is what
Yeah,
makes
we're
a Gen
I got
Z
coffee
TikTok?
stains.
You gotta work
and-
on the shoe game, man. I could help you out.
We got a new
Relatively
game we're gonna play.
inexpensive,
I
too.
Wait a
literally
minute.
made it up right
What
now.
makes his look Gen Z TikTok? I
I
don't
didn't.
know.
Ask Mike Coleman. Mark.
Oh, you say
Oh, eat dude.
Anthony says I look like a douche.
I actually think.
Wow. Douche or no douche? Dude, Levitard played a game yesterday called, not yesterday, earlier this week, Levitard played a game on the show called Douche or Not Douche.
Did you love it?
I thought it was hilarious. He had L. Duncan from ESPN on as his guest.
Yeah.
And the first question was, guy that brings his dog into the supermarket, douche or no douche?
I don't have a problem with
Depends
Lowe's.
what kind of dog it is.
No, that's a douche move.
No.
You don't bring a dog into a supermarket.
What kind
That's
of dog
I
is it?
said Lowe's. I hadn't
Lo-
answered supermarket. I
Oh.
said I don't have a problem with like Lowe's or Home Depot. or
Yeah,
anything.
Lowe's, who cares?
Where there's food.
130 games.
Where there's food, yeah, I probably
Yeah.
would want to take it.
That's gross.
Yeah.
You can't bring the dog.
It's not
into
like
the
the dog's licking the apples, though.
If it's a seeing eye dog, that's a different story. But
Every
like
dog's a service dog these days.
a regular dog, you can't bring him into the supermarket. That's disgusting. I don't want to see a dog in the restaurant either. And I love dogs. Don't bring a dog to the
What
restaurant.
about outside on the porch?
No.
Or on the patio?
No, inappropriate.
I don't have a problem on the patio.
People are so listen. I love dogs. I'm a dog lover. I have a dog.
Clearly you're not.
I'm not bringing my dog to the restaurant.
Let's play a game, Bull.
Jeez.
I
Go
just
ahead,
made this
Mike.
up right now. In honor of March Madness, we're gonna play college basketball player or NHL star.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna give you a name. You gotta tell me if this player, they're all real,
Yeah.
plays college basketball
Yeah.
or plays hockey in the NHL.
Can we go back to the Faces game? That was
At least he
fun.
doesn't play hockey in the AHL. But go ahead.
We will do next time we have 4 people in. We have Name That Dude 2.0 ready to rock.
Okay.
So
We're
we
We
just
do
need
this. I
4
could have
people
told you
in
about
here.
the most amazing day of my life, Tuesday.
We'll never hear it.
do it
Never gonna hear
overtime.
it.
Yeah, we do have
Just
overtime,
like
I
my
guess. Yeah,
birthday.
go ahead.
Nick Suzuki, hockey player or college basketball player?
That's a good one because there's usually no Suzuki's playing hockey.
Right.
Nick Suzuki. Yeah, I don't know.
Jason says college basketball.
Are these
Bull says hockey.
These I said hockey.
Dustin
Are these
said
NHL?
Yes,
Yeah.
NHL.
All right, so I'm just gonna write
you,
NHL.
you guys are correct. It is
CBB.
NHL. He plays for the Montreal Canadiens.
Look at that.
Shout out to Nick Suzuki. We're gonna play
Who
first
knew?
to 5.
Who knows?
All right, next up, Jason Robertson, hockey player, college basketball star. College basketball for Bull, college basketball for Dustin, college basketball for Jason. The answer, Anthony?
We're not getting to 5.
Incorrect. He's the leading scorer for the Dallas Stars.
Oh.
Or one of the leading scorers, excuse me, for the Dallas Stars.
They were better when they were the North Stars.
All right, next up, Leon Draisaitl.
Dryside.
I'm just putting hoops for all.
Jason never plays the game nicely.
That's not true. I love Name That Dude. It's great.
3 for basketball.
Yeah.
3 hockey idiots. Leon Draisaitl is one of the 5 best hockey players in the world on the Edmonton Oilers. Be better.
Can we do tennis players?
Be better.
I see it.
No, that wouldn't be fair. You know
All right,
that.
next up,
That's why. I said let's do it.
Barrington Hargris.
Huh?
What is it?
Barrington Hargris.
Man, that's a wealthy name, isn't it? Barrington.
Jason says hockey. Bull says college basketball.
CBB.
Dustin says college basketball. And we have another one on the board here. 2 correct answers for college
I've
basketball.
yet to get one
Yeah,
right.
you're 0.
You said you were doing basketball for all of them.
I just thought he was going to go hockey for all
Yeah.
of them, so I changed.
It's always.
All right, next guy. Trey Kaufman Wren. Hyphenated, if it makes a
man.
difference.
There's
Kaufman
no,
Wren.
there's no
hyphenated.
Trey Kaufman. What
Wren. R-E-N-N.
is that French?
I do
That's,
not
the
have a
only, that's
language.
the only way it's got a hyphenated
Use it
last
in a
name.
sentence.
I'll say this. He plays forward.
Yeah, NHL.
NHL for Bull. NHL for Dustin. College basketball for Jason. Jason's on the board. He's the
I
leading
said I know
scorer
that one.
of the Purdue Boilermakers.
I
Shout
said I
out to
knew that
Jason.
one.
Next up, Nick Clifford. Real name, swear to God. Nick Clifford.
Everybody said hockey.
3 hockey. 3 incorrect answers.
Wow.
Nick Clifford is the best player on Colorado State, a 12 seed in the tournament, who's favored over Memphis in the first round.
Because you struggled with the name, I assumed you would have known a college.
Did I struggle?
basketball
His name's Nick.
player. You said it like you were hesitant in saying.
No,
I
just
love
like
you guys,
saying
but
Nick.
I mean, we could have just flipped a coin for 10 minutes here.
I'm
not. I don't know any of these names.
I did flip a coin for 10 minutes and filled out my bracket that way.
Go ahead.
I love you guys. Good.
All right, you guys ready for the next one?
Oh, I'm ready.
Been ready.
I'm adding a category. Tennis player, hockey player, or college
No, he
basketball
knows
player.
tennis. That's not fair, but go ahead.
Mariano Navoni.
Tennis.
Tennis.
Dustin, are you confident?
100%. It's not Devonian. It's
Tennis.
Tennis.
Benjamin Bonzi.
tennis.
Key Nishikori.
Tennis.
Camilo Ugo Carabelli.
Tennis.
See, but if Dustin knows tennis, this is impossible.
I mean, I don't know why would you do tennis? And then we knew you were doing tennis because you just added it.
Summit Nagal.
Tennis. It's fresh from
John
India.
Tanjay.
Tennis.
No.
No, he's not. Tennis.
Gotcha.
Hockey.
I knew it.
He's not hockey. He plays for Wisconsin. He's their leading scorer, second team All-American.
He sucks.
Be better. Donovan Dent.
Basketball.
Is that Bucky's brother?
Basketball.
Dustin's right. It's basketball.
Really?
Another tournament guy. Clayton Keller.
I mean, you give tennis people, but you don't give one St. John's player, so I would actually know somebody.
Give me 3 St. John's players.
What's that?
Can you name 3 St. John's players?
I absolutely can name
Bullshit. Call it. Do it right now. Give me 3.
No. Give me their starting lineup right now.
R.J. Lewis.
Mr. Johnny's.
Of course, I'm going to forget names in a moment. R.J. Lewis is their best player.
That's correct.
For some reason, their center.
Oh, baby.
There we go.
Come on.
It's so funny because I could picture all the players, and of course, I can't think of their names.
Fraud.
All right.
Fraud.
So, Aaron Scott,
2.
just give me a second to think about it.
A real fan wouldn't use
Oh my God, I can't. Their center's name. I can see his face.
John Fant is so disappointed in me right now.
I know it's a bad job out of me. I know their names. Kaderi.
Got 5 guys to pick from. You can't even get to 3.
Richardson. I'm giving you a
Kaderi
lifeline.
Richardson. I can't believe I couldn't think of his last name.
You're
And
terrible.
let me tell you about this kid right
I
here.
scream. I swear to you, I know their names, and I'm just drawing a blank right now.
This is
You
so embarrassing.
The most embarrassing is their center because I love him, and I just didn't. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
I just got a call from Aaron. He said, please cut my dad's mic off. He can't come home for dinner right now. Sorry, Aaron.
All right, who am I forgetting? The other 2
You're
guys.
forgetting everybody.
I said, well, I got 2 guys. I knew Kaderi. I couldn't think of Richmond. Just give me a second.
Would you know it if he said it?
Of course, I know it. I'm just drawing a blank on it now.
Debatable.
I could. I'm telling you. If I did,
You
I
know
would
bench
admit it
guys?
if I
You know
didn't
bench
it.
guys?
Listen.
Yeah,
You're missing a
Ruben
guy who
Prey-
is their
they
second
got,
leading scorer.
Ruben Prey off the bench. They got a Greek guy whose name I can't think of. Akatopoulos or something like that. But it's embarrassing that I can't think of their center's name because he's like their
Zuby.
second best player. Huh?
Zuby.
Zuby Ejiofor.
Bro, this is disgusting.
I couldn't think of it.
I'm
You're
provoking
And
you,
then their
St. John-
5th starter is the little guy doesn't. And they have Smith.
This is so bad.
This is
Smith.
This is
Smith
so
is their
bad.
Smith Josiah. I can't think of his first name. Jeremy Smith.
Stop with your
Jaden
head.
Glover. Davion
You
Smith.
never had.
Javion Smith.
It's not Javion. It's Davion. Starts with a D.
Davion Smith. What can I tell you? I'm having a brain fart right now. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I've
Fart,
watched
you're
every
having
game.
diarrhea, dude. Love you, man.
I think
I
it's
don't
more
know what to tell you.
constipation. Nothing's
It
coming
is
out.
weird because I'm usually really good with that, and I've watched almost every game they played this
Dustin, tell us about Tuesday.
over my head.
I had an opportunity to mingle and hang out with
Yeah, we saw the pictures.
top, basically everybody who's anybody in tennis.
How did this
I
happen?
got
What was this that you were at? I
It's,
guess I'm behind. I didn't know that you were doing this.
secret.
Oh.
Secret.
All right.
It's a perk that I was able to take advantage of with my connections, and I was able to literally live like. For you guys, you guys would have thought it was really freaking cool, but for me, it was like cloud 9.
Yeah,
Like best day ever.
That's
in
amazing.
terms of like, you take away your kids being born and all
Yeah,
that stuff,
yeah.
like whatever. But for like how my life has evolved with the tennis and stuff, like
Yeah.
I live it and breathe it every day, and I got to basically be hanging out with these guys for 5 hours. I got to hit.
So you met the highest ranked players?
So, dude, I got to rally on a private court at a private mansion on South Beach with Arina Sabalenka, the #1 player in the world. She hit tennis balls to me.
Really?
And
Awesome.
and we hit hard. Yeah, it was freaking. It was unbelievable. I can't tell you. Like, imagine you. Who's your favorite player of all time?
Ryan Sandberg.
Whatever.
Having a catch with him.
Having a catch with him.
Yeah.
Right.
Bull probably doesn't remember his name.
How do you know yourself as, hi, I'm Dustin
I'm
Fox,
never gonna hear the end of
national
this.
champion,
I just-
played in the NFL.
No, I didn't. I mean,
I'm a big deal.
When we were done hitting, I talked with her. Man, is like, it's so fun. I don't get starstruck by anybody. But the tennis thing is different for me. It's weird. It's weird because I only see these people on TV, and then I had a chance to be with them and hanging out and talking and chatting. It's like, it came out about I played in the NFL or played college football, whatever, because they obviously knew that I was very athletic on the tennis court.
Yeah.
Way more athletic than anybody else. They're trying to hit tennis balls.
Yeah.
There was a couple other guys that got to be part of this too who were not really tennis players.
Right.
So I think that they appreciated the fact that they could get out there and it wasn't like they were just dinking the ball back.
Right.
We were hit
hit it hard with you.
Oh my God, her and I had. I don't know if you saw the video I sent to you guys, but she's notorious for her grunt.
Yeah.
When she hits the ball, she's makes a really loud grunt. It's very loud, and so her and I were hitting the ball and grunting back and forth at each other. And then at the end, she ripped as hard as she could hit it, very hard winner.
Right.
And it was really cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is a pretty. You'll remember that forever.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a cool
No,
experience.
people say hey, it's going to be a once in a lifetime, and I know we got to go.
Yeah.
But it was once in a lifetime, so
That's
I'm
awesome.
really, really lucky.
We'll see you on overtime.
Later.
Hopefully, I'll remember what to say.